Vardhan, Mahesh, Narendra, Praveena. I hope everyone able to hear me. Welcome to
Yes.
software testing course. Right? Software testing. The course which you joined is software testing. Course name software testing. But popular name for this course is testing tools. Popular name for this course is testing tools. Right. Now, sir, what we are going to learn in this course? I will going to explain to you the course content, what we are going to cover, and what is the teaching plan for this course. Okay. So, generally, the software testing course will have the two modules. The first module is manual testing. First module is manual testing. Second module is automation testing. Second module is automation testing. First module manual testing. Second module will be automation testing. It is okay. So in this manual testing, what are the topics we are going to discuss? What are the topics we are going to discuss? The very first one, I will go and explain to you introduction to software testing. Introduction to software testing. There you are going to get the some clarity like what is software testing, what are the advantages of software testing, difference among the error, defect, bug, and failure, some of the major activities in software company. So the type of clarity where you are going to get. So after that, see, I will going to start from the fundamentals. Even though you don't have any IT related knowledge or any programming knowledge, it doesn't matter. You can able to understand from that point we are going to discuss. Then introduction to software, like what is software program? What is software program? Okay. What is software program? What is software? Based software, project based software. Who is client, end user, and company? What is the difference between product based company and project based company? What are the different kind of environments are there for a project? What are the different kind of environments are there for a project? Next thing, what is the difference among the system software, application software, and programming software? Okay. Next thing, once you understand these two concepts, you can able to give the clarity here. If someone is going to ask you, why did you choose software testing as career? You can able to give the answer, and you can able to give the answer here. So, what type of skill set required to get a job as a test engineer? So, these two topics, once clearly you understand me, so you can able to give the answer for those. After that, we are going to discuss how in company software application is going to be developed. That is software life cycle. So here we are not going to discuss the coding. So what are the activities are going to performed? See, as a manual automation testing type, some programs are written, but when you go for manual testing, no of any programs we are not going to write. We are going to learn here how the software is going to be developed. Then SDLC related concepts like when software development life cycle will end, when do defects will arise while developing software, how the defect repair cost with respect to SDLC phases, when do you think testing activity should start in software developing process, when do you think so testing activity should start in software developing process. What is the difference between QA and QC? Like this, we are going to discuss. After that, we are going to discuss here SDLC methodologies, or we can call models. We are going to call like which are important for us. Waterfall model. Second one is V model. Third one is Agile Scrum methodology. Agile Scrum methodology. Okay. SDLC methodologies are more. These are the thing. Agile is the one of the very important one nowadays. Any interview, they will go and ask you the question on that.
Okay.
After this,
so maybe just to check, and you do have access to Microsoft.
Testing methodology.
You're set on Microsoft Work account. Yes, with your working and you have access to that today. Awesome. Okay. So as we get started, I'm just working on the setup there, so we can begin in earnest. And
white box testing.
How many of you have had Google BigQuery?
Second one is black box testing.
So when we talk about Microsoft Fabric, on the other side of Google, if you're thinking of
a box testing,
stacks for data professionals,
what is the purpose of this kind of testing?
Is the equivalent on the Google side for Microsoft
testing methodology.
And Microsoft Fabric is relatively new.
This thing
I think less than 2 years old now. And today we want to get to just the depths of how Microsoft Fabric solves the different challenges that data professionals face in their, day-to-day workflows. So
after
I think we can
gray box testing completed, then we go for the testing levels in
just
SDLC.
to give you an overview of what we want to cover today.
Levels in SDLC.
It will be 3 sessions, but the core of it will be the first 2 sessions, where initially I just want to introduce you all to the idea of Microsoft Fabric, so that we all get to appreciate what is Fabric, why is
System
it really
testing.
important
Fourth
for
one
anyone
is
in the
user
data
acceptance
space
test, or
or
we can say
anyone dealing with data.
acceptance test
So
also and critical.
that will, encompass just looking at
Now
the
here,
challenges that data professionals face in their
so under
workflow.
integration
Maybe some
testing,
of
we
you
have
will also
different
tell
kind of
us
techniques again,
some of the challenges
like
you
Big Bang
faced
approach,
as a, as
incremental
an
approach,
individual.
top-down approach,
And
bottom approach,
we'll also
hybrid
get to
approach like
introduce the
this.
idea of Fabric,
Same way,
what
if I
it
go for the
really is,
system testing also,
what it
we
then
have the
solves, and
various kind
the
of testing
highlights you
techniques are there,
see with an
like
asterisk there,
functionality
like
testing,
setting up Fabric,
performance testing,
will be
security
more of
testing,
lab-based.
compatibility testing,
The
user
only
interface
challenge
testing,
or
usability
proviso
testing,
that I would
recovery
make is
testing. Like this, we have the
Fabric
different
requires
kind
some
of
bit of
testing techniques.
licenses, which
Under user acceptance test also, we
hopefully
have
we get
like
to
a
set up
alpha test
on
and
all of
beta
our
test.
machines,
These
but
are all the
to the
things we are
extent we
going to
won't
cover
be
in this
able to,
testing levels in
I
software
think
development life
you'll
cycle.
build with me. I'll build as we
Okay. After
go
that,
along.
see,
And
these all
for
things
those
here.
who
So
have
theoretical
access
only.
to
Manual
work
testing,
emails, then
almost we have
you'll
the
be able to set them up on
80%
your site.
is
And
going to be theoretical
depending on our
orientation,
sitting
because
arrangement,
you have to learn
we can,
testing related
share in the experience.
vocabulary. What
So
is
hopefully we
practical
get
things
a
in
good
manual
distribution of the
testing?
same. And maybe just
Practical
for
things are
confirmation,
test scenarios
besides and
identification, test
who
cases
else
preparation,
has access
test
to a
execution,
Microsoft Word
defect
account?
reporting. Those things
Maybe
comes
just by a
under
show of hands.
practical orientation.
So we do
Remaining things
have
are going to
yourself.
be
What's your name?
simple theoretical
Caleb.
orientation in the manual testing.
And anyone else? So it seems this side of the table we are
Testing
lucky. But
levels. After this, we
anyone
have
from
the
that other side?
Bhavana, just I'm giving the route map
Just
for the
besides
course. What are
Anne?
the topics we are going to
It's
cover?
okay.
How
Yeah,
this
go for
course is
it.
going to be, what about notes, what about
Yes,
recording
yes.
sessions. These all things I am explaining
You
now.
already existed, yes?
Okay. Then
Wow. Let's, you
miscellaneous
also have access. Let's see how we'll
testing
cover that.
techniques are. Some miscellaneous testing techniques. So what are those?
So,
Miscellaneous
what's
testing
your
techniques, such
Microsoft
as
account? Is
we
it
have the
a
very
Gmail
famous
based account?
point of view.
Then we are
Retesting,
set on that side. I'll set you up. I'll take you through how to, just set up Fabric
regression
and
testing,
run up your capacity.
retesting, regression testing,
No. It's all cloud based, and it's all within the Microsoft
sanity
ecosystem.
test,
So no elevation required for any external app installation.
informal
So
testing
it's going to
techniques,
be good in that sense. And your
such
name?
as
Nicholas. Yeah. Okay. So we have Caleb and with an asterisk, and Nicholas who have access to
exploratory testing,
a Microsoft work email, and I
nav
think
testing,
that will work
exploratory
for now.
testing,
So we'll set up labs.
discard,
We'll work with a different
priority
Fabric
based
persona.
testing.
So if you're a data engineer, if you're a data
So these are
analyst,
the informal testing
like I
techniques.
said myself, I'm a data scientist, so I have a bias. Hopefully, we don't get to see
Siva,
that
in this
coming
course,
out too much.
first module we have
Then
the
we'll just
manual
get
test.
to the
In
interface
this
of what
manual testing,
Fabric is,
these
the
are the topics
workloads, the
where we
different
are going
workloads,
to
what you
learn.
can do with it.
There is theoretical orientation up to here.
And we'll
All
also
about
test
knowing
an
the
example
different
of
kind of
how we can
testing related
get
vocabulary.
in data to
After that, there is an
Fabric
activity called,
and
which we
maybe
are
do
going
a
to
few
discuss,
queries here and there.
software
But core to the
testing
idea of Fabric
life
is also
cycle.
the one lake
Testing life cycle is
architecture, which
SDLC,
I would want
software
to dive
testing
deeper
life
into
cycle.
just to
So
get you to
SDLC,
appreciate why it
previously
is core to Fabric.
we have the
And then
software development
lastly,
life
I can
cycle.
show you maybe a few
The other one is
experiences here and
software
there. For
testing life cycle.
example, as a
Once
data
you joined in
analyst
the company
or as a
as a
machine learning
testing lead,
engineer,
you
what you
are
can do
going to
with
be
Fabric.
one of the members
So
in this
that will
testing life
conclude the
cycle
first
team.
session for us.
In this, we are going
And
to
then
work.
the second
So who is going to
session,
work with the
which
testing
will
life
be
cycle?
done
Separate testing
led,
team. So you are the
facilitated
one
by
of
my
the member
colleague
in that
Victor,
testing team
will be
where we are
now,
going to work in the
create
testing
a
life cycle.
report, ingest
So what are the
data,
activities
and just a
we are
build-up
going to? The very
on
first
what
one we
we've
have to
already
know
covered
that
at the first session. And as
prepare
promised earlier, you will get an
Test
assignment
plan document.
which you
How
will
to prepare the
go and
test plan
test
document.
or try by yourselves.
So generally, test
And
lead is going to prepare the test
hopefully
plan. So, but
that
to
will
whom
get
it
you
is
either
testing
interested
in?
in
If you
data if
learn how to
you're
prepare the
already
test plan,
not
you can
in the
understand, no,
data
what is
sphere,
test plan
or
describes. There is the interview
will get you
question.
to just
If you are in a
appreciate
position to prepare the test
what
plan, you can
insights,
able
what
to explain, no,
results you
what is
can
the
get
information
from
is
data
got there
analysts.
in the test plan.
So with that in mind,
Yeah.
just to set the stage,
So that is a
I
preparing
think
test
by
plan
now all of
document.
us have used an AI tool in one way or the other.
Next thing,
Maybe as a data professional, or just in
test
your daily
design,
workflows, or as a
or we
student,
can say
or for
test
random stuff.
case
So for example,
design.
if you're stuck in traffic and you want to know, some random searches, you've used Gemini, you've used ChatGPT and the likes. But at the
This is an
core,
important
because
phase for
AI
us
is
as a testing unit.
becoming
Here,
the differentiator for businesses. I do a
about
lot of
use
consulting,
case.
and most businesses, from a risk perspective, they are very much concerned on,
About test
are
scenario,
we going to be ready for the next phase of competition?
then
So if you're, for example, in the professional services space, if you're in the banking space,
identifying
these companies are asking themselves,
informal
what are we not doing to be like
test
the others when
scenarios.
it comes to AI
So
adoption?
because interview point
And
of view, they will ask you
what
by giving some components how
is
identify the test scenarios,
coming out
how to identify it.
really,
Then
more pronounced is that leaders themselves are concerned
identifying
about the value they're getting from
formalized test
AI cycle
scenarios
hype. They're
using.
also looking to
So
invest
in
more
real
in
time,
trainings for data. This is through
giving
surveys done
the
by different professional
one
services
project
companies.
related documents
EY has done a
using
survey. I
the
think KPMG
template
already also
how
did a
to
survey.
identify
And
the
from the
test
2023
scenarios
PwC
will be
survey,
discussed.
which I've also seen a new one for 2025, if you can read around. Um, Even Kenyan CEOs, East Africa CEOs,
Next month,
and leaders and business leaders are more concerned about being left behind the curve, and their goal is to now invest in data. So what that means for any data nerd or somebody who's just interested in data, which we'll talk about the different professions in the data space in a few slides. What it
right.
means for you is
After that,
the opportunities are now abound,
about
and
test case,
it would
about a test
it would
case.
be
What is test
disadvantageous
case?
if if you don't jump into the data train and capitalize on it, either from a business standpoint or from an individual point of view. But then one of the reasons
So how to
why we
prepare the
have
test
tools
cases?
like
What
Fabric
are the test
is
case techniques
because
are there?
you've had this cliche phrase that garbage in, garbage out. So even for data systems, if you train it
About
with
test case.
garbage data or poor
Then
quality data, then you just get poor quality results.
test case.
Why do you
Design
think maybe
techniques.
Gemini works
Which
better
techniques we have
for
to use to prepare the test
queries that
cases?
are more recent than other tools like
Test
Perplexity or
data
ChatGPT? It's about the
preparation.
data
How
with
to
which they've
prepare the
been
test
trained.
data.
Some of them, and data quality
The
measures
types
are,
of
things like
test cases.
validity, there is the format, and
Test
such like
case.
things, but even recency.
Template.
So if today I have
Then
a query about, maybe the next Google phone,
preparing
and my
test cases in a
AI
real
program
time.
was trained on 2 months worth of
Again,
data,
for
but
project related
or
documents,
two,
I will go and explain to
maybe
you
data up
how
to
to
January
prepare
or
the test
data up to
cases. So that they
even
are going to
April
get some
itself,
real time
it won't
experience
have that
how to
sort of
prepare the
result.
test scenario
So
test
recency
cases.
is still a quality measure for data. And some of the problems that we have with these models
Then using
result
RTM,
from the root cause, which
that
is the
is
quality of data through which they've been trained.
requirements
And so even
traceability
as
matrix.
businesses, they
RTM
can't
means
adopt
requirements traceability
AI, they
matrix.
can't adopt analytics to the level they need
Then
to be, because there's an analytic cycle. You move
the
from
test
just
execution.
descriptive analytics, getting to know what happened, in which areas of the
different
business it
execution
happened,
levels.
when it happened, and all that,
Then
to
defect
predictive
management.
analytics, where you start asking or answering the questions of what will happen if we do AB, what will happen
Defect
in the next 4 years, what will happen in the
identification.
next 4 days, 4 months, or whichever time period you're working with.
Defect
That's more
report.
of forecasting. Or what will happen if we give these people
Defect
this
tracking.
product, what will happen if we give these people loans, what will happen
Defect
if,
tracking.
so predictive analytics. But then
Defect
in the cycle,
retesting.
you also, once you've achieved some
Defect
good level of
closure.
maturity on predictive, you move
Yeah.
to prescriptive analytics, where you're now able to evaluate, okay, if we put this intervention, how likely is it going to, solve ABCD?
Defect
So
suppression process in
the
real time. How we
main
can do
deterrent to companies moving up that cycle is the problems that we are about to just
Template.
reflect on in a few slides. And there are modernization efforts just to
And
enhance the
severity.
quality of data. I think anyone
Priority
who's
and
worked
severity.
on the
Okay,
data
one
side,
point.
on the data architecture, data engineering side of things, it's all about
Life
giving
cycle.
quality data to those who need it, so that the end goal is to derive
Just to
insights.
closer.
Because at the end of the day, if you're working in
Point
the
one here.
in the data space,
Software testing.
you're rarely
Principles.
the end consumer of this
This is the complete
reports
manual
of, or
testing
whatever
portion
analysis
for
you
us.
do.
Software testing.
You're mostly
After the software testing
driving a
principles,
decision, and
so
you're
we have
making
the
a case for some investment, or be it resource or time, or
interview-oriented
whichever,
session
to be made
on
to act on your
manual
recommendation,
testing.
which is supposed to be data driven.
So what are the
So
topics
for you to make a
we
tighter
covered
case,
so
you
well
obviously
in
need
that
to
what
have
type of questions we can expect in the
reliable
point of view
information and reliable
based
data.
on your experience,
So
pressure or
I
experience
know
person,
I've mentioned
how you need to deliver the answer
a
for
few
those questions
examples of
will be discussed.
roles within the data space, but maybe I've only touched on data engineers so far, which
Next month.
we are so lucky today to have one, and she'll also get to just tell us,
assignment done.
what she does
Manual testing without any
in her role as a
reference
data
of the
engineer.
notes. If you
And I'm
prepare
sure
answers for those
some of
questions,
you are
so
also
manual
data
testing, interview
professionals
questions,
in
interview preparation over
whichever way,
these things.
maybe role agnostic, and
So after
you
this,
could be spanning some of these
we have
roles,
the second
or you could be
module,
wearing the
automation
hat of a
testing.
data engineer and the hat of a data analyst
So
at the same
generally,
time.
first we have the
So
one tool
just
to
so that
discuss here.
it doesn't get
A tool one.
too, you don't get too
What is that
monotonous
tool?
or too
Jira
bored with
we
my
are going
voice.
to
I just
discuss.
want to also hear
So
from a
what is
few
the
of you,
purpose
so that
of
I
this?
know, okay,
It is a
we have Caleb, we would have
effect
anyone else. So
reporting
I would
tool.
also want to, just get to hear from
It is a
yourselves. So
defect
from the far
reporting tool,
end, if you
which
can
we are
give
going to
us
use.
any other role, or any other role of a data in the data space that you've heard of apart from a data engineer. So a data scientist,
Selenium,
and a data
WebDriver.
scientist, what do they essentially do? Is mostly focus.
It is
A data scientist is
functionality
wearing the hat of a data
testing
analyst,
tool.
and also more of
It is
a
a
machine learning engineer.
functionality testing.
So you're trying to, they are in the middle of
So
that
where we are
analytics
going
curve.
to learn
They are more of focused on the predictive
WebDriver
analytics side of things.
with
So you're trying to
core
answer the
Java
questions of,
concepts will be discussed in
there
the
are
course.
three fundamental
But in the
problems
WebDriver, when I'm
in
going
data
to start the
science or
automation
in
testing,
machine learning, which
like
is
manual testing, how I given the course content.
answering regression
In
problems,
detailed way, I will go to give the course
clustering
content.
problems,
But at this moment,
classification
so I will tell you
problems,
what is an
and
important
forecasting
here. Core
problems.
Java
So
concepts will
I
be
would say
covered.
four maybe,
In
but you can
WebDriver,
look
we
at
are
it in that
going to
sense,
discuss
where you want
not
to
only
answer.
fundamental concept, advanced
Okay,
frameworks such as page object
if
model framework,
I give
Cucumber
you this
framework,
loan, are you able to
so
repay it back? That would be more of a
data-driven
classification problem,
framework,
is it?
hybrid
But what if
framework,
we are dealing
test-agile
with
framework.
something
These are
like,
the different frameworks
what's the
are there in
credit
Selenium.
score of
All these frameworks like
Caleb,
page object
given
model
his
framework,
historical transaction
data-driven
and
framework,
demographic
test-agile
data?
framework,
What kind of
hybrid
model are we
framework,
talking about there?
and Cucumber framework. Apart that,
regression
along with the
model. So
Selenium,
a
some
data
other tools which
scientist
are going to learn.
more or less
Maven, we are
wears the
going to
hat of a
learn.
data analyst and a machine
Jenkins, we
learning
are going.
engineer,
CI tool, we are going to learn.
which
Jenkins, we are
is
going to learn.
a very common role. But I
Repository
think I
means
also want us
GitHub
to just
repository, we are
reflect,
going
because
to
now I've
learn.
mentioned a data
GitHub
analyst, we've mentioned a
repository, we
data
are going to
scientist,
learn.
but we also
So
have
total
people we
course
rarely
duration will be,
hear of,
it will take
uh,
around 60
guys
to
like roles like
65
data
days.
strategists. So data
In this manual
strategists, they
testing,
mostly
we are going to
define,
discuss around
you
20 to
know,
25 days. We
the
have the
architecture,
manual testing portion.
the use cases for data within that
Right.
organization.
Manual testing, 20
They
to 25
define,
days we have.
it's more of
Then
they define the
automation
strategy
testing is going
that
to around
will be anchored
35
on
to
that data.
40 days we are going to
We also
discuss on
have,
it.
sorry, yeah,
35 to 40 days we are going to discuss about the automation testing.
a business
Sir,
analyst
you said
mostly
auto
interprets
manual testing is theoretical orientation.
they kind of
So how
connect
we
the
can get the
business
real-time experience? I
context
will
to
go
the
on to
data
share
context.
the
So
real-time
there are bridge
project-related documents for the
between
practice
core
and for
data
scenario test
professionals
cases.
and the business
But when I
itself.
go for the automation
So I
testing,
would say a
it is
business analyst is
completely
closer
practical
to a data
orientation.
analyst than they are to a strategist.
Understand?
Strategy, your
Automation testing
thinking
is completely
matters. How are we
practical
going to store this
orientation.
data?
So,
How are we
but
going to
practice
use
where
it?
we
And
can
what
do.
value are
For
we
that, we need
going to
software or not
derive
in
from
our
it? Why
system.
do we need such
Definitely,
data?
in our
And,
system,
and
you
of course,
need
when you're looking at
software.
things like
So,
privacy
during the
rules and all that,
automation testing,
you also
I
have
will
to
go
think
on to
about
explain to you
compliance.
where
So,
we have to
how are we going to
download
use
the
this
required
data?
software
What data do we
and how
need to
we can
collect
set up
and send?
the
So, the
Selenium
data strategist
environment in our
thinks, or
computer
their role
for
is to
daily practicing purpose.
kind of have
So, sir, when
a
I'm
full picture
practicing, if
of
I
how
got some
data will
doubt,
drive
how to get the
the
clarification,
outcome of an
I will give
organization.
the my personal WhatsApp number later so that you can, if you have any
Uh-huh.
doubt, you can send the screenshot to me so that I will go on to clarify
Yes and
your
no.
doubt.
I
Or
think
in the
a data
next breakfast, you can ask
governance
me. I will go on to clarify
specialist,
your
which is
doubt.
a role in itself,
Okay,
is
sir.
closer
Apart this, what are the
to a
additional things?
data
Resume
steward
preparation. That sample
than
resume
to
formats will be given to you.
a data
Okay.
strategist.
So
Yeah.
apart this, as a bonus, what I will going to do,
Yes, strategists.
some other
Well,
concepts
they
which
might not
we
be,
are going to
you
discuss.
know,
I will give the
writing some of these platform requirements and
introduction
architecture,
to
but they
database
have to have
concepts.
knowledge of. So, for example, if you're going to
Second
recommend
thing, I will
Microsoft
give the
Fabric, you really
introduction
have to
to
know the end-to-end
API testing
use
application
cases for this
programming
fabric.
interface
So you're
testing
going
also
to
API testing
have an
also. I will give
idea,
some introduction. That is not
and they tend to
curriculum.
be mostly
Some
senior
Saturdays
people
Sunday
who've already
special days I
worked
will going
in
to
other
take.
data
I
roles,
will go and
so
explain these
that they
concepts
have an
to you.
idea of what are the needs of the different um, data groups or groups.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Hello?
these are not mandatory. If you
Understood?
have this knowledge,
Yes.
add
So a data
advantage in the resume
steward
point of.
is
Okay.
now
So
less technical, frankly speaking, and
Pranav,
they
my
do
name
more
is
of the
Pranav, who
data
is going to
management,
take
data
the classes
governance
to
side
having
of
more
it,
than
where
18
they
plus years of
define
experience
things like
in
the
software testing.
principles
I
around
worked on
managing
different
this
kind of
data. They
automation
define
tools
the
from my
compliance rules.
career
They
beginning.
define,
I worked on the
those sort
WinRunner,
of
the
triggers,
first
etc.,
automation
that
tool
would
came into the market.
hinder
From the
either
Mercury
achievement of the
Interactive, after
strategy,
that
or that can promote,
QTP, now it is
general
called
data
EFT.
compliance around. So it's
So then,
closer to a data
so there I
governance
designed a lot
personnel.
of frameworks. We have in
We also
the
have BI
EFT,
analysts
like
that,
keyword
like we've
driven
said,
framework.
and
So data
sometimes
driven
we
framework very
underlook
popular
this
things
role,
which I worked
but it's
on it. I
actually very
designed those
important
frameworks in my
because
company. After that,
you can
more
shout all
than
you want, you
7 years
can build
we worked on
all
the
the
EFT tool. Then
complex
now it is Selenium,
solutions as data
Selenium with
people,
Java,
but if
Selenium with
the
Python,
business is not feeling
Tosca,
the ROI
Playwright. These
on
are the
that,
tools I have the
I
experience.
mean,
So
it could be
at
discarded.
this moment,
Your
we still are
report
going
could
to
be
Selenium with
misinterpreted. Your
Java. That is a,
report
why,
could,
sir? This is only we have to,
yeah. So
because
they
high
help
demanding tool in the market is Selenium
connect
with
the needs of the business
Java.
to
So
what
more
data
than
professionals are doing.
70% of
And of
companies
course,
will
a BI
prefer the same
analyst
to
in this case
Java.
is
Other
closer
tools are
to,
there. I'm
in the
not
software
saying that
side of
there are no
things,
mark for other tools, but only that is
a BI
10 to 15
specialist.
percent for a tool.
But
But 70
the only
percent of
difference in the
market
data side is
so is
they're
on
mostly
Selenium
looking at the
web
data data
driver
stack.
with Java. That is the
And we do
reason
have
that
a few
concept
other
I have to
roles,
learn
but
it.
even a
Other
data
tools
consumer
are
is a
not
professional in
that
the
much
data space.
demand.
And a
That's
data
the reason.
consumer
Okay.
doesn't have to be interacting with tools
8 plus years of
and some of
experience.
these, they don't have to have all these skills
In
or even
fact,
some
the
of these
Bilpet
skills.
market,
They just
the
need
early
to
days,
know this is
automation
the
testing.
end
I am the
result
person
of
who
what I'm
introduced
looking at.
EFT training.
We even
So
have
UTP
data
training it
product
is.
managers.
Okay. So a
You
lot of
know,
experience, teaching
they
experience I
kind of
have.
own the
So
chain.
different roles I played in my
And a
company
data
also.
consumer,
Now,
your CEO could be a data consumer.
this is the course
Your
teaching plan. See,
functional manager could
to
be a
get
data
a job, to
consumer.
get a break in your
Even us
career,
as
you need to spend hardly
external
60 to
parties to a
65
company,
days
we are data
studying.
consumers.
That
So
too,
in the event
my
that
class timings
you
are
choose to
going to
lie with
be
statistics, for example, or either knowingly or unknowingly,
5:30 to
you've
6:30
misled someone
daily,
in the
1 hour
data
it will
space.
be.
You've misled the consumer.
5:30
I've
to
mentioned other roles like data product
6:30
manager.
p.m.
Any other that I've not touched on that
Okay.
maybe you've had of?
Generally, we'll have the classes from Monday to Friday. That is 5 days a
Yes.
week, the regular 5 days a week. But some days
And
I may going
evaluation.
to take on Saturdays also. But not 1 or 2 weeks later, if I felt it is lagging, then I will going to take the Saturday, Sundays also. I will be
Yeah.
intimate to you. Okay, but Monday to Friday, 5 days a week, you can fix it like that. Special class on Saturday, Sundays will be there later, not now. Okay. Sir, what about the class notes? What about the class notes? Class notes will be shared in WhatsApp group.
Yes.
I will create the WhatsApp group. In that group, I will get once registrations are completed, I will going to take
Cyber
your numbers
security
and name and
related.
personal
Yeah.
number so that I will create the WhatsApp group. So daily whatever topics I covered, the corresponding notes I will going to share. So in the class, during the class, no need to write
Absolutely.
the notes
And
detailed.
and
You maintain
like I
account
said
in your
earlier, I'm a
account
trained
in the paper, but
statistician, so
detailed
that's
notes
what we
will
did
be
in
day to
campus.
day
But
will
you
be shared in
realize
the
you
WhatsApp
can
group.
never or you can no
Then
longer
what
be
about recording
a
sessions?
valuable statistician
Yes.
if you're not working with
So
data. Um, Another role that I maybe forgot
Google
to add
Drive
on
link
this was more of a data
will be
storyteller.
provided to you,
And I
where
read
we
a
are going to
research
provide
paper
day to
somewhere.
day
I've
recording sessions are
forgotten the
going to be
name.
uploaded in the Google
But
Drive.
the
From there,
whole
you can able to take the recording
um,
sessions. You
you
can watch,
know
but don't give the
message of that
highest priority for the recording
article
sessions
was,
compared to the class. Class is
yes,
the
we
you should
sometimes
have the
do very
commitments,
good
serious
analytics.
commitment you
We
should have
do
to attend the
as
classes.
data
In case
analysts
in
or data
emergency,
visualization
if you are not
specialists, which
able to
can be a
attend
role
the
in
session,
itself,
then you
or
can use the
data
recording
analytics
session.
engineers.
Okay. So what happens
We do
once the
so
recording
good of
sessions
a
are
job,
there, so
but
students
sometimes we don't
trying to
get
give
to
the priority for the
communicate
other activities than class.
to the
Straight away we have
audience.
the
They
recording.
could be data
See,
consumers or even
recording there
fellow
will
data
lot of you may
professionals
also
in
take
other
other post
teams.
recording sessions
We
also.
fail
They
to
see
communicate the result,
we have, but we are
the
not
end
going to
goal
refer it. That's the problem. That's the reason.
of
Try
our
to
work.
give the time
And
to attend the
in most
classes
cases,
only. So in case
your
you may not
report, your
understand the
end result
topic
is
or
what
you may miss in emergency, then you can use the recording
kind
session.
of gives a
Okay,
pointer to
like
the
that.
level of
Okay, if you
effort that
miss
you
one
put
class, use
in your
recording session, but
analysis,
don't
in your
miss the
data
classes.
collection,
That's what
or
I'm saying. It is
whichever process
okay.
you are
So
involved in
I
that whole
hope
data life
it
cycle.
is clear for
And
you.
so if it
Is there
doesn't sing
any
a good
doubts are
song,
there?
then
So
it
can you
doesn't
ask
get
me, unmute
appreciated
your
by the
mic,
people
you
who
can
might
ask me the
need to
question,
appreciate it.
or
And that's where also
it's
data
very clear
storytellers
means
come in.
say yes in the chat box.
They come in to bridge the gap and kind of um, make or
So
bring
Priyanka, is it clear?
interest
Pravina,
to the work
Narendra,
that data analysts and data professionals do.
Vardhan,
Um,
Chai,
Sorry for
Bhavana next. Shifra, any doubts are there? Is it clear? No?
so within that whole,
Say yes or no in the chat box. If you have any
sorry,
doubt,
I
let me know.
apologize.
Unmute your mic, you can
It
ask.
seems this.
I will
This is
clarify
not on.
your doubts.
Could you check from there?
Sir, I don't have any
Okay. Now it's
programming
fine.
knowledge. Can I learn this courses?
Probably
So
should have
this software
confirmed
testing
earlier.
course is for them only actually.
But I hope
Non-IT
we don't
background
lose
students purpose only it is.
connection. For those online, apologies. Just a slight technical issue and
Okay,
get coming
we are
back
clear.
in a
So
few
okay, try to
seconds.
use the same link to join the session for tomorrow also. You can use the same link to join the session for tomorrow also. Okay. See, every
Thank you,
point will
Crispin.
be explained in detailed
So,
way.
yes, ability to
So
actually
only you have to give
influence
the commitment to
people.
attend the classes.
I
Manual
always
testing is
it's
30
it's
minutes
a it's
reading
a
the notes
it's a
reading.
quote
So
that
automation
I
testing is a
think
1 hour
summarizes the role of
practice.
a
This is
data
what commitment is required
um,
to get a job. Okay.
storyteller so
So
well.
market
I
is
always
started.
say
So companies are
facts will
asking.
get recorded,
So
but
testers
stories,
jobs are
if
more
you are
are there.
able
So
to
you should be ready
associate
for the market
your
requirement.
data
You update
report or
yourself.
your
Okay.
output with a story, it gets
So that is the
remembered.
class for us. Thank you
People as
very
and if
much.
you think
See
about
you
it,
tomorrow.
our
Okay. Bye.
civilization and most things that we hold dear are actually built on
Hi.
stories.
So good
Stories
evening,
bring people
everyone.
together. Stories influence people to
Bhavana,
do things. Stories influence people to
Vardhan, Mahesh,
on
Narendra,
um,
Ravina. I hope everyone able
act
to
on a
hear.
message, and that's why the role of a data storyteller
Welcome to
is
software
very
testing
critical
course. Right.
to the
Software
strategy.
testing.
I mean,
The course which you
the
joined
data
is
strategy of for
software
an
testing
organization.
course
Okay.
name.
So for
Software
anyone
testing.
online, please
But
confirm that
popular name for
you are
this
not able
course
to see my
is
screen.
testing tools.
Just dropped off a bit there.
Popular name for this course is testing tools.
Okay.
Right.
So let's now
Now,
reflect on
so what we are going to learn in
businesses.
this course?
What's
I will going to
the
explain
main
to you
problems that
the
data
course content,
professionals
what we
face?
are going to cover, and what
One
is the
is
teaching plan for
disparate
this
data
course.
systems.
Okay.
So some data is sitting in
So generally, the
maybe an
software
Amazon
testing
S3
course will
bucket.
have the
Some
two
data is sitting on your
modules.
laptops. Some
The
data
first
is sitting on
module
your
is
OneDrive folders. Some
manual
data is
testing.
sitting on a BigQuery database,
First module is
and
manual testing.
the we get what we call
Second
like
module
siloed
is
data experiences, which is
automation
also
testing.
even
Second
exacerbated
module is
by the
automation
differences in the
testing.
formats that we
First
use.
module, manual
Um,
testing.
some
Second
teams would
module will
like
be
to use
automation testing it
maybe
is.
JSON data.
Okay.
Some teams would use CSV. Some teams are writing their data to XLSX or whichever other format. And this
So in this
creates
manual testing,
the problem of, as an organization, for example, Equity
what are
Bank,
the topics we are
you're
going to
not able
discuss?
to use
What are the
all
topics
your
we are going
available
to discuss?
data
The
to
very first
drive
one,
the decisions that you
I'll
need.
go and explain it to you.
So, Equity Bank, maybe you'd have access to Finacor,
Introduction
right?
to
And
software
sometimes
testing.
some other data is sitting on your local
Introduction to software
Oracle
testing.
database. Some other data is sitting with the loan appraisal specialists, for example.
There you
So,
are
because
going to
of
get
this
the some
disparity
clarity
in
like
where this
what
data
is
is
software
stored,
testing,
whoever is doing the
what are the
analysis,
advantages of
be it the
software
data
testing,
scientist or the ML engineer who wants to
difference
maybe
among the
develop a
error,
model
defect, bug and
to
fail.
predict credit
Some
scores
of the
for
major
loan
activities in
applicants,
software
is
company.
not able to kind of gather it together,
So the type of clarity
either
where
in
you are
real
going to
time
get.
or even otherwise.
So
And
after that,
with that, these
see, I will
differences
going to
even in the
start
data
from the
formats, they're
fundamentals.
not able
Even
to,
though you
or
don't
they
have
take a
any
lot
IT related
longer
knowledge
to
or any
integrate it into
programming
their
knowledge,
systems
doesn't
or into
matter.
their
You
workflow,
can able to
right?
understand from that
Then the other
point
problem
we
is
are
also
going to
poor
discuss.
quality data. So
Then
that is to say, there is no standardized formats, there is no
Introduction to
standardized data
software.
quality checks that exist
Like
within an organization.
what is software
And so you
program?
spend,
What
and
is
data
software
scientists
program?
themselves will tell you, they will be spending enormous amounts
What
of
is
time
software program?
just
What is
cleaning the data
software?
that is handed
What is the
over to
difference
them, maybe
between
by the data
product-based
engineers in the room.
software,
So
project-based
with that poor
software?
quality
Who
data,
is
then the
client,
process is just
end
slowed
user,
down, and that is
and the
becoming a
company?
deterrent in
What
the
is the
end goal
difference
of
between
achieving
product-based
full
company
analytics
and
maturity
project-based
and
company?
capability in any workflow or
What are
any
the
organization.
different kind of
Then
environments are there for a
the other
project?
problem is
What are the
maintenance,
different kind of environments are
technical
there for a project?
requirements. So, for example, for you to provision, a server or even a data storage, there's just so
Next
much
thing,
technical knowledge required. There's so much, there's
what
a
is the
steep learning
difference
curve,
among the system
and
software,
not
application software,
everyone who
and
is supposed to
programming
actually be
software?
including data analysis into their workflow is going to benefit from just the availability of data. Um, I also work as an internal auditor.
Okay.
I've
Next thing,
seen
once
HR
you understand these
professionals, for
two
example,
concepts, you can able to
anyone,
give the clarity
anyone
here.
in business
If
needs to
someone is
integrate
going to
data
ask you,
into their
why did you choose
decision-making processes,
software
right?
testing as
Even if you're
career?
a sales agent, you
You
need to
can able to give the
analyze
answer,
or
and you can
have
able to
some
give the
basic
answer here.
level of analytic skills to
So, what
actually
type of skill
drive
set required
what you
to
do.
get a job as a
And
test engineer?
there's no better person to do the
So,
analysis
these
for
two
you
topics, once
than,
clearly you understand, means you can able to give the answer
you
for those.
as
After
whichever
that, we are going to discuss
role,
how
let's
in
say even a
company
photographer, because you know your
software
database,
application
you
is
know
going to
your
be
features,
developed.
you know the end
That
result, you
is
know what you need best.
software
So if you don't have um,
development
the technical
life
expertise to
cycle,
even set up your data systems, how they are going to be
SDLC.
integrated,
So here we are not
then
going to discuss the coding. So what are the
there's really a lot of
activities are
friction.
going to perform?
Um,
See, as a
Data
manual
governance and data
automation
security risks
testing type, some
is a
programs
big
are written, but
problem.
when you go for manual testing,
When
no
we
have
talk
any
of regulatory
programs are not
standards,
going to write for.
they,
We are
for
going to learn
especially
here
for those in the
how the
regulated
software is
spaces
going to be
like
developed.
banks, insurance, and the likes, you will always be getting audits,
Then
and your data storage systems will, the
SDLC
architecture
related
will have to be
concepts
audited, they will have to be reviewed
like
from time to time. Who has access to
when
data? Who
software
should not
development
have
life
access, and
cycle
all
will
that.
end, when
So
do defects will arise
because
when
of
developing
these
software,
different
how the defect
silos
repair
in which
cost
we
with
have
respect to SDLC
information stored,
phases, when
even
do you
data
think
governance
testing
and
activity
data
should
security
start in
becomes a
software
challenge.
developing process?
If I leave this department
When do you
today
think
and I go to
so
another
testing activity
department,
should start in software
who
developing
will
process?
be tasked with revoking my access to Gmail, my access to AWS, so
What is
that
the difference
that
between
sort
VR
of
and QC? Like this, we are going to discuss.
jeopardizes the
After that,
organizational data management and data
we are going to
governance
discuss here
practices.
SDLC
We
methodologies,
also have very
or we
many
can
technical
call the
platforms,
models we are going to
an
call.
example of which you'll see
Like
in
which
a
are
few
important
slides
for us.
here.
Waterfall
Like, for
model.
example, just even the Microsoft ecosystem
Second
itself.
one is
We do
V
have
model.
so many products,
Third one
and
is
they all require
Agile
different
Scrum
technical skills. So, for
methodologies.
example,
Agile Scrum
how many have
methodology.
worked with Azure, um,
Okay.
the
SDLC
Synaptics engine?
methodologies are more. These are the
How
thing.
many have
Agile
worked
is the
with
one of the very important
Spark,
one nowadays.
Apache Spark?
In an interview, they will go to ask you the question
Yeah, for
on
the data engineers in the room, I'm sure, and even for ML engineers, I'm sure you've interacted with that.
after
But
this.
having to learn all these different products or stacks,
We are going to
and
discuss about
the
the
next day maybe they
testing
are
methodology.
obsolete, or they've been duplicated, is such a pain for data professionals.
Testing methodologies.
So that kind of again limits interest in data. So whenever you talk about, oh, we are about to build some small data model to
Testing
just
methodologies.
tell us
What are those? First
what
one we
amount
have
of
the
inventory we should order if you're in a hospital,
white
for
box
example.
testing. Valuability
the
we are
first
going to
reaction
achieve.
is not
Second
yes,
one
let's go
is
for it. It's more of what do we
black
need to
box
do? What
testing,
data models do we need to
PPT.
build? What data do we
Third
need
one is
in this case, and where will we store it?
air
How
box
much
testing. What
storage
it is,
requirements do we
what
need
is the
for the same?
purpose of this
So
kind of testing methodologies, who
it's a
is going to
friction point
use these testing
for
methodologies.
adoption of analytics, but even to a degree,
This thing we are
the
going to
extent to
learn.
which you can build AI platforms on your data with your existing data is also dictated by just the availability and the appreciation of data across board. So if you think about it, most organizations are here. We do have different teams, maybe several business teams, and a number of data teams that are
Like,
focusing on different things. Some are doing the modeling, and they would therefore have access to different sources of data, which again is a problem in itself because you therefore
after this
don't
gray
have
box
unified
testing
results.
completed, then we go for the
If you're accessing a trial balance as of yesterday and it's been updated today and all those sort
testing
of things,
levels in
so it
SDLC.
creates a lot of
Testing
inefficiencies.
levels in
And then
SDLC.
other problem is if we have data stored, let's
First one we
say,
have the
in our database,
unit
it,
testing,
as
which is also
this
called as
analytics team,
component
and you
testing.
guys need it,
Then
we'll
integration
have to
testing.
copy it from our end and push it
Third
to your
one is
database so that you can start working with it. That's
system testing.
typically or generally what
Fourth
happens.
one is
The
user
problem with
acceptance
that,
test, or we can
it's
say
you have a lot of
acceptance test
redundant
also
data
are going to
existing
come.
in different data storage systems,
Now
and
here,
their consistency
so under
tends to differ.
integration testing, we have different kind of
Managing access to
techniques
search
again,
becomes a
like Big
challenge.
Bang approach,
Hence, you're exposed
incremental
to
approach, top-down approach,
data
bottom approach,
privacy and
hybrid
even
approach like
data
this. Same way, if I go
access
for the
risks.
system testing
And
also,
then there is
we
also
have
limited
the
interoperability.
various
So,
kind of
okay,
testing
this
techniques are
team, we
there,
tend to
like
just work with
functionality testing,
Excel data,
performance
and
testing,
it tends to be more
security
of the
testing,
business
compatibility
analyst
testing,
side
user
because then they
interface
just need
testing,
quick,
usability testing,
dashboards
recovery
from
testing.
either Power
Like this, we
BI
have
or
the
Excel.
different
And
kind
this
of
team,
testing
because you're
techniques.
doing more of
Under user
machine
acceptance test also, we
learning
have like a
models, you're doing,
alpha test and
some
beta test. These
some
are all the things we
prescriptive
are going to
analytics,
cover
and
in this
to that
testing
degree, you're
levels
doing
in
some AI
software
models.
development
Maybe
life cycle.
you've opted to be working with CSV
Okay.
data,
After that,
and
see,
so
these all things here.
it
So theoretical
becomes a
only.
challenge to
Manual testing,
get
almost we have
the
the
same data to be
80%
used
is
across board.
going to be theoretical orientation
Um,
because you have to
there's
learn
a role we didn't
testing
mention,
related
which is called
vocabulary. What
the
is
chief data
practical
officer,
things in manual testing?
and maybe they
Practical
work
things
hand in
are
hand with
test
data
scenarios
strategists. So
identification,
this slide, as you
test
can see,
cases
the
preparation,
intention is not
test
so that you
execution, and
can,
defect reporting. Those
zoom
things
in
comes under
and
practical
start
orientation.
investigating
Remaining
all
things
of
are
these
going
data
to be
products.
so
The
simple
whole goal is to
theoretical
illustrate
orientation in the manual
that
testing.
data's chief CDOs are nowadays complaining that their role has become more
Testing
of
levels. After
a
this, we
data
have the
integration role. You are always
Bhavana, just I'm
integrating
giving the roadmap for the course.
this
What are the
tool,
topics we are going
this
to cover?
data,
How this
just
course
so
is
that you
going
can
to be? What
have a
about notes?
solution.
What about recording
And the
sessions?
challenge with this
These all
is,
things I am explaining now.
yes, you
Okay.
might be having,
Then
AWS today, and
miscellaneous
Microsoft, but then you
testing
realize
techniques
that
are there.
for your
Some
visualization,
miscellaneous testing
you
techniques.
actually need
So what are
Tableau,
those?
right? So you have to
Miscellaneous
integrate
testing
that
techniques
into
such
your
as we have
ecosystem.
the very
Again,
famous
comes
interview
with
point of class,
data security risks and data
retesting,
access issues. And then you realize that the formats that Tableau supports
regression
are not even
testing,
supported by
retesting,
whichever
regression
platforms you've
testing,
chosen. You've chosen like an IBM
smoke test,
DB2 um,
sanity test,
database, for example, or Cosmos database or whichever. So their role becomes more of,
informal
yes,
testing
I'm able to
techniques
source this tool. This is
such
cheaper.
as
This database is cheaper than this other one,
duck
but
testing,
this is better for real-time compute. I can get this other engine
exploratory
to
testing,
analyze my data. I will be using, I don't know,
ad
maybe
testing,
R for my
exploratory testing,
data modeling, etc. And
risk
so
guard,
it becomes
priority
a
based
jumble of
testing.
different tools requiring
So these
different
are the
skills
informal testing
and
techniques.
limited scalability. Because if you now need to work with, let's say, high
Even in this
velocity,
course,
high veracity
first
data,
module we have
then
the
maybe some of these
manual
tools are
testing.
again
In this
limited in that
manual
sense.
testing,
So
these are the
because
topics where we
of
are
just
going to
the
learn.
sheer number of
There is
products that
theoretical orientation up
exist
to here.
and the
All about knowing
differences
the
in
different
formats
kind of
and standards that they
testing
have,
related vocabulary.
chief data officer
After that,
roles
there is an
are
activity called, which we are going to discuss,
um, becoming
software
challenged, that they need to
testing
have an
life
integrated system.
cycle.
Now you can decide,
Testing life
fine,
cycle. It is
I'll go with one
STLC,
platform. I'll go
software
with
testing
Google.
life cycle. So
Google will
STLC.
have,
Previously,
the big query
we have
uh,
the software
tech
development
stack,
life cycle.
and
It
then
is.
suddenly
The
you
other one
hear
is
Google still
software testing
has,
life cycle.
maybe Google
Once you
Colab is
joined
not
in the
included
company
within BigQuery.
as a test engineer,
Then you
you are
realize
going to
that
be one of the
um,
member in this
some other
testing
Google
life
tools
cycle team.
themselves are not
So in this
included
we are
within
going to
that
work. So who
BigQuery
is going to work in the testing
structure.
life cycle?
Same to
Separate
Microsoft,
testing
they are
team.
still
So
not
you
off
are
the
the one
hook.
of the member
The
in the
problem
testing
you
team
have currently
where we
for
are going to
data
work in the
governance, because
testing
here
life
you want to
cycle.
monitor
So
who has
what are the
access to what,
activities
at
we
what
are
point
going to?
should
The
the
very
access
first
be
one we
revoked,
have to know
etc.
that
But then once you need to create your reports,
prepare
suddenly you have to learn Power BI.
test plan
You have to work
document.
with Synapse, like I
How to
said
prepare
earlier.
the
And
test
so
plan
we have a
document.
problem of many
So
products,
generally test
they
lead is
have
going to prepare the
different
test plan.
experiences.
So, but
And
to
for
whom
those
it
who've
is
been
test
in the
engineers.
Microsoft
If you learn
space,
how to
you've been
prepare a
working
test
with
plan, you can
Windows,
understand no
you
what is
saw the
test plan
difference
describes.
between
There is
maybe
the interview
Windows 10
question.
and Windows
If you
11.
are in a
The
position to
whole
prepare the
goal
test plan,
was,
you can able to
even from a
explain no
UI
what is the
perspective, you
information
should be
is going to
having
there
similar
in the test
experiences
plan.
across different tools. So if I
Like that.
can open a tab,
So
a
this is
ribbon on my
preparing test
notepad,
plan
then I
document.
should be able to open the same on um, maybe
Next
Microsoft
thing,
Word. If I have access to files, if I can bring in
test design,
Copilot
or we can
in
say
Excel,
test
I
case
should have the same
design.
experience in my PowerPoint, for example. So always we want less variance in the
This
experience,
is
in
an
the user
important
experience,
phase for us as a
because it
test
even
engineer.
builds on muscle
Here,
memory. Um, some of these tools
about
you will
use
notice
case.
are built on open source systems or open source standards.
About test
Some tools are
scenarios.
proprietary. So you will get
Then
to maybe know that, oh, maybe the primary
identify
file system for Google,
format
you realize is
test scenarios.
maybe
Because
Iceberg,
interview point of view, they
right?
will ask you
And
by
then
giving some
when you go
components
to
how to identify the test
AWS,
scenarios,
it becomes
how to identify
Delta
it.
Parquet files. So you
Then
can't move your data across, for example. Even within
identify
the Microsoft tools previously,
formalized
for Azure, we
test
needed Delta Parquet
scenarios
files, which we'll talk about.
using
But then for Power BI, it
so
doesn't
in
work with
real
those
time,
files. It only works with Excel and a
giving
few
the
others like CSV
one
formats.
project related
So that
documents using
variability
the template,
in
how to
the
identify the
standards, the
test
formats, and even
scenarios will be discussed.
experiences, it limits the adoption process. Some are dedicated, so you have to provision on your
Next
premises, on
month,
your on-prem or within your own systems. Some are serverless. So there's disparity and there's differences. Some are software as a service, some are more of platforms, and we have steep learning curves, which require deep expertise in different tools. And now that's where
like
Fabric comes in.
after that,
So Fabric, and this is now where we start
about
talking
test
about Microsoft
case,
Fabric. So we were just
about
still
test case.
introducing
What
the,
is
the
test case?
idea of data, the problems in data, the different data professionals and what they do, some of which we'll explore within Fabric and how they can now leverage Fabric. But Fabric has been brought to solve those problems that we've talked
So
about.
how to prepare the test
So
cases?
the
What are the
problem
test
of
case techniques
multiple
are there?
analytic services. So in maybe in
About test
you used to do your data engineering notebooks with, you used to run them on R
test case.
or Spark,
Design
Spark
techniques.
SQL or
Which
you know
techniques we have to
Python
use
PySpark,
to prepare the test
and
cases?
you're running your reports
Test
on
to
a different
data
platform like Tableau.
preparation.
So it's to
How
bring
to
that
prepare the
unified
test
stack.
data?
And you
Types
will
of
also notice, which is something we want to
test
explore
cases.
within OneLake, that data is now
Test
existing
case.
in a single source.
Template.
Data is all in one
Then-
place, which is called OneLake, so that if this team needs the data,
Preparing
if this other team needs the data, and
test
this other
cases
team
in
needs
a
the
real
data,
time.
they don't have to copy it to
Again,
their
for project related
workspaces. They don't
documents,
have to
I will go
copy
and
it to their
explain to you
machines
how
or
to prepare
to
the
their
test
servers.
cases, so that you are going to get
They
some
can
real
all just
experience.
access it from
How
a
to prepare
single
the test test
source,
cases.
something which we'll demonstrate in a few. The problem we've seen previously
Then
of
using
different
RTM.
applications like Power
That
View, you have Power BI, you
Requirements
have
traceability.
Data Factory
RTM
for
means what?
data
Requirements
engineers
traceability
and
matrix.
data warehouses, all those different things
Then
being, different experiences.
the
It's all
testing
been now
solution.
unified so that you just have what we call workloads,
Different
which
execution levels.
are applicable to
Then
different
defect
professionals,
management.
a point to which we'll visit. So
Like-
you will notice that Microsoft Fabric is more of like an end-to-end data analytics solution. That is to say,
Defect report.
it's useful for
Defect
all
track.
data professionals, data consumers, BI analysts.
Defect
They all
track.
have something they can
Defect
do within the
retesting.
platform, and they can all access the same
Defect
data,
flows.
and they can all
Yeah.
access the same analytics engines or whichever compute engines. Then it's also cloud-based. That is to mean you're not
Defect submission
limited
process
by the
in real
resources
time,
of your
how we
computer.
can-
Even if today you're using a Core i2 and somebody is using an i9 or somebody is using an M3 Max machine, you'll have similar experience as long as the
Priority.
internet connectivity is the same because it's all cloud-based.
Severity.
Then it's also serverless.
Priority
That
and
is to
severity.
mean you don't have to, do
Okay,
any
one.
provisioning. All this is
Then-
managed for you. So we're just working with what we call capacities,
Life
and
cycle.
the load will be balanced based on
Just
the
to close
requirements that you have, either as a
Nine
single
one, yeah.
analyst or as an organization.
Software
So all that
testing
work of
principles.
provisioning the software,
the
managing the
complete
build,
manual
and
testing
managing
portion
the
for us.
resources and the
Software
infrastructure
testing
has been done for you.
After the
Your
software
focus
testing
as a data
process,
professional is just to come in
so we
and
have the
do what you need to do. As a data engineer, you come in and put your pipeline
interview
and
oriented
configure your different data flows,
manual testing.
hand it to the next person to do
So
what they
what
need
are
to
the
do. As a
topics
BI
we
analyst,
covered so far?
you just
In that,
come and
what type of
develop your
questions we
reports
can expect
and
in
you're
the
good
group
to go.
point of view?
As a machine
Based on
learning
your
engineer, you don't
experience,
have to worry
fresher or
about
experienced person, how
setting
you
up
need to
your
deliver the answer for
whichever
those
stack,
questions
setting up
will be discussed.
your servers and databases and all that. Your role is just to focus on what you need to do. I need to write reports.
Next month,
You can actually build reports from Power BI and the likes, which we will explore.
one
So
assignment done.
that disparity
Manual
and
testing.
differences
Without
in
any
different
reference of the
applications has
notes,
all been
if
brought
you
under one
prepare the
roof
answers for those
for you to
questions,
focus
so manual
on
testing,
driving
interview
or
questions,
deriving
interview
value
preparation will over
from the data.
these things.
Then it also has GenAI capabilities built in.
So after this,
Again, this is activated based
have
on the
the
different
second
licenses
module,
that you have. How many have
automation
used
testing.
Copilot, Microsoft Copilot?
So generally, first we have the one tool to
Yeah,
discuss
so
here.
Gen AI is
The tool
becoming
one.
the new
What is
thing, the
that
in
means?
thing
Jira we
for
are going to discuss.
just speeding up your
So
workflows,
what is the
and
purpose
it's
means?
built on it's
It
built
is a
within these workflows.
effect
So
reporting tool.
this is, I would say, the
It
architecture
is
of
a
Fabric.
defect reporting tool,
Yes, they would. It would
which we
look
are going to
different
use.
depending on, in terms of just the icons, but we do have what we call workloads. So data factory, data engineering, data warehouse,
Selenium
data science,
WebDriver.
real-time intelligence, databases, Power
It is
BI,
a
and then there's something that is in preview
functionality
for
testing
bringing
tool.
in,
It is a
other
functionality testing tool.
workloads, which I think right
So
now,
where we are
when we
going to learn
explore Fabric itself, we'll get
WebDriver
to see some of them.
with core
So
Java concepts will
what
be
this means, and
discussed
don't
with
worry,
you.
all these slides and all
But in
materials
the
will be shared
WebDriver,
with
when I'm
you.
going to start the
I
automation
think
testing,
pretty,
like manual
you
testing,
can
how
work
I
on
given
maybe
the
sending
course
like
content,
email. Yeah.
on detailed
So
way,
all
I will
this will
going
be
to give
shared
the
with
course
you.
content. But at this
And these
moment,
slides, you
so I
will
will tell
notice
you what
something.
is an
I
important
do
here. Core
have
Java
a lot of
concepts will be
notes
covered. In
just to
WebDriver, we are going to discuss the
also
not only
help you
fundamental
internalize
concepts,
some of them.
advanced
So when you're
frameworks such
reading the
as
slides
page
or the
object model
material,
framework,
feel free to
Cucumber
also
framework,
just go to the notes section
so
to
data driven framework,
get the in-depth
hybrid
understanding
framework,
of all of
TestNG
these
framework. These are
areas.
the different
So
frameworks are there
with
in the
Fabric,
Selenium.
there's
All
something
these frameworks
we
like
call a persona.
page object
So as
model
a data
framework,
engineer, there are just a few things that you will be
data
using
driven framework,
within Fabric, is it?
TestNG framework,
And you will therefore
hybrid
wear the
framework,
hat of a data
and
engineer,
Cucumber framework.
and that would mean you
Apart
will
that,
maybe interact
along
with
with the
data
Selenium,
factory, data
some other tools which we
engineering,
are
data
going to
warehouse,
learn.
and maybe that's where you
Maven
leave
we
it.
are going to learn.
As a data analyst,
Jenkins we are going to
you
CI2 we
might
are going to
rarely
cover. Jenkins
interact
we are
with
going to learn.
data engineering or data warehouse or
Repository
even
means
data science.
GitHub
So you will
repository we
just
are
interact
going to
with
learn.
data factory
GitHub
and
repository we are
Power
going to
BI,
learn.
for example.
So
As
total course
as a
duration will be,
data
it will take around
steward,
60
you
to
might just
65
interact
days.
with, um,
In this manual testing, we are going to discuss around 20 to
the
25
security
days.
and
We have
governance
the
layer.
manual testing
As
portion.
a business analyst, you may just interact with
Right
BI,
now.
Power BI
Manual
only.
testing 20 to
As a
25
data
days we
consumer,
have.
again, you will
Then
just interact
automation
with the
testing
reports.
is
As a
going to
database
around
administrator,
35
you will
to
maybe
40
interact with the
days we are
data
going to
factory
discuss by
and
this.
databases.
35 to
So
40
it's
days we are going
an
to discuss about
end-to-end
the
solution to
automation
cater
testing.
for different data
Sir, you
persona,
said auto manual testing is theoretical
but it
orientation.
has
So how we can get the
commonalities.
real-time
One
experience? I
of
will
which
going to
is
share the
Copilot
real-time
is built
project
in.
related
The
documents for the
other, which
practicing
is
purpose
the
scenario
most
test cases.
important,
But when you
is
go
the
for the
One Lake,
automation testing, it is completely
the Microsoft
practical
One Lake
orientation.
architecture,
You
which
understand?
we
Automation
want
testing is
to
completely
dissect it further.
practical
We want to
orientation.
understand things like
So
what's a
that
data lake
practice where
and
we can
what's a
do.
data
For that
warehouse
we need
and
software
what
or
is
not
One
in
Lake,
our
for
system.
example, and
Definitely
what is a
in
data
your
lake
system
house.
you need
So we want to
software.
explore all
So
those
during the automation testing,
because
I will
it's one
going
of
to
the
explain to
core
you
of
where we have to
Microsoft Fabric.
download the required software
Just so
and how
you
we can set up
satiate your
the
curiosity,
Selenium
One Lake
environment in our
is
computer
the data
for
storage
daily practicing
element of it.
purpose.
So what
So,
I kept
sir, when I'm
saying, like
practicing, if I
data
got some
engineers,
doubt,
they need the
how to
same
get the
data.
clarification,
Maybe
I
data
will give
analysts,
the
they work
my
with the same
personal
data.
WhatsApp
We
number
get to explore
later,
why that is
so that you
important,
can,
because
if you have
if
any
we
doubt,
have
you
data
can
being
send a
stored here and
screenshot
the
to
other
me,
data is
so
somewhere
that I
there
will
and
go
all
to
this in
clarify
different
your doubt.
systems,
Or in the next day class, you
you've
can ask me.
seen
I will go
or
to clarify
we've
your
talked about the
doubt.
risks associated with that.
Okay. Sir,
Risk
apart
is
this, what are the additional things? Resume
maybe
preparation,
lack of
that
integrity in the
sample resume formats
reports,
will be given to you.
lack of
Okay.
access controls, and data
So
governance
apart
measures
this,
and compliance
as a
issues,
bonus, what
and
I will
and
going to
and
do,
um, and so on.
some other concepts
And then we
which
also
is
have Microsoft
we are
Purview,
going to discuss.
which
I will
is
give
now
the
to mean you want to manage
introduction
access
to
to
database
this
concepts.
um,
Second thing,
workspaces or
I will
to
give
this
the
data
introduction
in a
to
unified manner. So
API
if this
testing
team is supposed
application
to access this
programming
data,
interface
you only
testing
have
also
one
API testing also. I
single
will give
area
some
of
introduction that
managing
is
that
not in the
access.
regular time.
Even if that
Some
data
Saturday,
is
Sunday
stored
special days, I
somewhere
will going
in
to
an
take. I
S3
will go and
packet or
explain these
in
concepts to you.
GCP, or in, I don't know, maybe Snowflake
Okay.
database,
So
because it's going to be connected to
these
one
are not
lake,
a mandate.
you
If you
only need
have
to
this
manage that
knowledge, add
access
advantage in the resume
from a
point
one
out.
lake
Okay.
angle. So
So
that's what we want to explore. And with that said,
Pranav, my name
as
is Pranav,
one,
who is
before we
going
get
to
into
take
the
the classes
platform,
to having
just a
more
summary
than
of what
18
Microsoft
plus years
Fabric
of
solves.
experience in
That
software testing.
lack
I
of
worked
access
on
to
different
quality
kind of
data
automation
is
tools from my
solved
career
by,
beginning.
we now
I worked
have
on the Winner
one
Lib,
lake
the
that
first
facilitates
automation tool came into the
organizational wide
market.
data
Okay,
access.
from
So
the
even if
medical
it is
interactive. After that,
HR
QTP. Now it is called
data
EFT.
that is required for
Then
the auditors,
so there
it's
I designed
just
a
sitting
lot
within
of
the HR
frameworks we
platform,
have in
and
the
then we manage
EFT,
that access
like
for
keyword
auditors.
driven
If it
framework.
is
So HR driven
transaction
framework, well
data that
popular
the
things which
machine
I worked
learning
on that.
team
I
needs
designed
to
those frameworks in my
have,
company.
they don't have to
After
move it to
that,
their
more
system.
than
They can,
7 years,
you
we
know,
worked on the EFT tool.
they can
Then now
access
it is
it in that
Selenium,
sense. And then
Selenium with the
one lake
Java,
has a
Selenium with the
single data
Python,
format,
Tosca,
which is called the
Playwright. These are the
delta
tools I
package
have the
files, which we want
experience.
to just look at what
So
those are. And
at this
because
point
of
of
that
we are
single
going to
data
Selenium
format,
with
now every
Java. That
other
is a
team can
why
access
sir.
it.
This only we
So
have
even
because
if you're
high
in
demanding
BI,
tool in the
if you're
market is
in
Selenium with
data engineering,
Java. So more than
all this is
70% of
like,
companies will
if you
prefer the
think about
same
it,
Java.
let's say we are
Other
working
tools
with
are there. I'm not saying that
CSV
there are
files.
no market for other
If
tools, but only that is
organization wide
10
we are
to
using
15%
CSV
for
files,
a tool,
then it
but
standardizes the
70%
format.
of
The only
market
good thing with
so is
data
on
package files
Selenium
is
WebDriver with Java.
they have
That is the
additional
reason that
features
concept we
beyond,
have to learn it
the
is.
common
Other tools
standards that we've
are
always been using.
not that much demand.
Um,
That's the
and
reason.
because
Okay.
a bit of it is low code, actually it's a low code or no code
8 plus
platform.
years of
It
experience.
means the adoption
In
of
fact, the
analytics.
Mirpet market, the early
Even
days
if you are
automation testing,
in
I am the person who
some role
introduced
that
EFT training.
maybe rarely
So
interact
QTP
with
training it
code,
is.
you're
Okay.
still able
So a
to
lot of
benefit
experience,
from
teaching
Microsoft
experience I
Fabric.
have.
So
So
that
different
makes
roles I
all the
played in my company
users, all the
also.
data
Now
consumers, or all the roles. So that's why this is an event
this is the
or
course teaching plan.
a
See,
session for
to
everyone.
get a job,
Even
to
if
get a
you
break
don't
in your
interact with
career,
technical
you need to
systems,
spend
you're still going
hardly
to benefit
60
from
to
Fabric
65 days
because it's a low
studying.
code or no code
That
platform.
too, my class timings are
Um,
going to be
we also have Gen AI, like I said, and most of those tools,
5:30 to 6:30
because
daily, 1 hour
the
it will be
background of the work in terms of provisioning and
5:30
even
to
configuring some of those
6:30
engines has been
p.m.
done for you. It's more of self-service
Generally, we'll have the
tools,
classes from
and
Monday to
so you don't have to
Friday.
be
That is
like a
5 days a
very
week
deep specialist in
regularly,
setting
five
up,
days a week.
I don't know,
But
like
some
systems
days
and
I
servers
may
for
going
you to
to
just
take
get a
on
Power BI
Saturdays
report,
also,
you know.
but not
So
two
this
weeks
is the end
later.
goal.
If
The
I
end goal
felt it is
is
lagging,
you
then
want
I will going to take the Saturday
these
Sundays
different
also.
business
I will
teams
be
like
eligible to
sales,
you.
marketing,
Okay, but Monday to Friday,
or
5 days a
even
week is
HR or
specified.
operations to
Special class on Saturday
use
Sundays will
these
be there
different
later,
models.
not now. Okay.
And
Sir, what about
data,
the class
wherever it
notes?
exists, even if it
What about
exists
the
in
class
a
notes?
Google Cloud storage, even if it exists in a
Class
database, even if it
notes
exists in this
will be
many other
shared
different sources, they can all
in a
just be
WhatsApp
channeled
group. I will create
into
the
one storage location.
WhatsApp group.
So the
In that
whole
group, later once the
goal of
registrations are
Fabric
completed,
is
I will
to
going
get
to
your data
take
estates
your
together.
numbers. I will give my
I've
personal
been
number so
saying a
that
lot
I
of
can
things,
create the
but I
WhatsApp
think
group.
once we
So
demonstrate
daily,
what it
whatever
really is,
topics I
you'll get
cover,
to
the
appreciate why this is
corresponding
important.
notes I will
It's
going
to
to share.
bring your
So
data
in the
all to
class,
one
during
place,
the class, no need to
transform
write the notes
data in a
detailed
way that
way. You
helps you
maintain
build
rough
these
note, you
models
you
and
can want to take, you
solutions,
can take, but
and then
detailed
empower
notes
everyone,
will
because
be
that's
day
another
to day
problem
will
we
be
have
shared in the
as businesses.
WhatsApp group.
Not everyone, like
Then
when you
what
go
about
to
recording
marketing, they might
sessions?
not be using data
Yes.
to the level they need to
So
because of the steep learning curve and the technical debt that we have, right?
Google Drive
So you
link
want to empower everyone
will be
to
provided to you,
actually work with
where we are
data
going to
and
provide
derive
day to
insights.
day
And lastly,
recording sessions are going to
govern
be
and protect
uploaded
your
in the
data.
Google Drive.
So that's the
From there,
those
you
are
can
the,
able to
I
take
think,
the
core 5
recording
goals
sessions. You
that
can work, but
Microsoft is,
don't give
I
the
mean,
highest
Fabric is
priority
aiming
for the
to
recording
achieve for
sessions
you.
compared to the class.
So
Class is
let's
the
go
important. You should
to
have the
the lab
commitment, serious
section
commitment you should
where
have
we want
to
to
attend the
set up
classes.
Microsoft
In case
Fabric,
in emergency,
right?
if you
So
are
that you
not
can
able
even
to attend the
explore
session,
some of the
then you can
different
use the recording
workloads
session.
and the likes.
Okay. So what happens when
You'll
the
allow me
recording
to sit
sessions are
down,
there?
and
The
for those
students
with
trying to give the priority for the other
Microsoft
activities than
Work
class.
accounts,
Anyway, we have a recording.
it will
See,
be easy in the
recording
sense
there will
that
lot of you may also take other
you
course
just
recording
need
sessions also. You may
to
see
set up
we have,
on your
but we are
laptop.
not going to
But for
refer
now,
class.
allow
That's the
me
problem.
just to
That's the reason. Try
walk you
to
through
give
that,
the
just so
time
that you
to
can
attend the classes
just
only.
also
So in
appreciate.
case you may not
So
understand the topic
you need to
or you may
navigate
miss in
to,
emergency,
let's
then you can
say,
use the recording session.
app.powerbi,
Okay,
or in this
like
case, I can
okay,
even
if you
go
miss
to
one class, use
Fabric
recording session, but don't miss the
Microsoft.
classes. That's what
So I
I'm
can
saying.
go to the home page.
Okay, so I hope it is clear for you. Is there any doubts are there? So can you ask me? Unmute your mic. You can
So
ask me
they
the
always
question,
launch,
or
all these things.
it's
We
a very
have
clear means.
community.
Say
There's
yes in
quite
the
a lot of
chat
things,
box.
and in the Fabric workspace, you can enter competition to even win a voucher.
So
But just
Priyanka, is it clear?
maybe let me put
Pravina,
it full screen like
Narendra,
that. So within this home, you
Vardhan,
have learning, where
Skype,
you can go to the learning
Bhavana
modules and
next.
just access what those
Shifra,
are.
any doubts
So
are
if
there?
you are a data
Is
engineer,
it
you'll see
clear for
learning
you?
modules specific to a data engineer.
Say yes or no in the chat box.
You can
If
always
you have
filter
any
here.
doubt,
So
let me
Microsoft
know. If you
Fabric,
unmute your mic,
and
you can
then
ask. I will clarify your doubt.
sorry.
Sir, I don't have any programming knowledge.
Oh,
Can I
you
learn this
okay?
process?
I'm moving too
So this
fast.
software testing course is for them only actually.
Okay. So
Non-IT
for now, I'm
background
just on
students
the homepage
purpose only
itself.
it is.
I've not gotten to the tool. We have end-to-end tutorials, like Microsoft end-to-end tutorials, and these are either experience-based or um, multi-experience. So, for example, you'd have like a data science tutorial,
Okay.
you'll have a data
So
warehouse
clear.
tutorial.
So
But what
okay.
I
Try to use the
actually
same link
go
to
for
join the
is
session for
some of these other
tomorrow
tutorials,
also.
so like
You
Power
can use the
BI,
same link
etc.
to join the session for
So those are
tomorrow
for
also.
tutorials,
Okay.
and you
See,
can
every
also just
point
make your
will
own
be
learning map
explained
here.
in detail
If you
there.
want to learn Fabric,
So only you have to give the
you just search for
commitment to
a
attend the
learning
classes.
path.
Manual testing is
So
30 minutes,
I
book
don't know why it
reading, the
selected a
notes
module.
reading. So
Yeah,
automation
but
testing is
fine.
a
So
1
let's
hour
go to Microsoft
practice.
Fabric
This is
itself.
what commitment is required to
And you
get
can
a
always
job.
just interact with
Okay.
this page
Now market
just
is
to know, okay,
started.
what's the
So
Fabric
companies are
roadmap, what is
asking.
going to be rolled
So
out,
testers,
under
jobs are more
learning,
are
what
there.
what is
So
there
you
for
should be
you,
ready for the
etc.
market requirement. You update
Yeah.
yourself. Okay.
So that.
So that is the class for us. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Okay. Bye. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Bhavana, Vardhan, Mahesh, Narendra, Pravina.
I
I
think
hope
we've all
everyone
suddenly
able to hear
gotten
me.
into the system, hence the slowdown in
Welcome
the
to software
internet.
testing course. Right. Software testing. The course which you joined is software testing. Course name software testing. But popular name for
Okay.
this course is testing tools. Popular name for this course is testing tools. Right.
Oops.
Now, sir, what we are going to learn
So
in this course,
you can just
I
go
will
to
going to explain to you
app.fabric.microsoft.com
the
or
course content,
app.fabric, and then it will
what we are
direct you there.
going to cover, and
Let me
what is
just
the
open an incognito tab
teaching
so that you
plan for
can see
this course. Okay.
app.fabric.
So Generally, the
then I
software
should
testing
get access to
course will have the
go to
two
Microsoft
modules.
Fabric like that.
The first module is manual testing.
Just a sec.
First module is manual testing.
I think there's an internet issue.
Second module is automation testing. Second module is automation testing. First module manual testing. Second module will be automation testing. It is okay.
So for me, I
So in
am
this
already set up. That's
manual
why
testing, what are the topics we are going to discuss? What are the topics we are going to discuss? The very first one, I will go and explain to you. Introduction to software testing. Introduction to software testing. There you are going to get the some clarity like
has anyone
what is
managed?
software testing,
Helen? Oh, okay.
what are the advantages of software
Um,
testing,
no problem.
difference among the error, defect, bug, and failure, some of the major activities in software company. So the type of clarity where you are going to get. So after that, see, I will going to start from the fundamentals. Even though you don't have any IT related knowledge or any programming knowledge, it doesn't matter.
So
You can
once you're
able to
able
understand from
to
that
navigate
point
to
we are going to
Fabric, so
discuss.
let's say you sign in, for example, in this case, if I
Then
sign in with my work account, it will tell me, I think I'm already, I don't need to create
introduction
a new
to
account, and
software,
it will take me to the Fabric
like
homepage immediately. So
what
just
is
allow me
software
to,
program,
okay, I think this will
what
work
is
still fine.
software
So it will take
program,
me to the Fabric homepage. So Fabric homepage
okay,
will look something
what is
like this,
software program, what is
where
software, what is the
because
difference
for me
between
I'm
product
within
based
the
software,
UI tenant,
project based
so you'll see all
software,
those details here.
who is
It's
client, end
it's
user,
one tenant,
and the company. What is
multiple
the difference between
users kind of
product-based
experience.
company and
I'm able to
project-based company?
um, I'm using the free trial,
What are
so
the different
you
kind
can
of
activate the free
environments are
trial for
there for a
now
project?
because you don't have to purchase the license, but it expires
What are
within
the
60 days.
different kind of
So
environments are there for a project?
once you're able to activate that trial within that tenant, so depends on the tenant you are in.
Next thing,
Once you're able to activate that trial, you'll see
what is the
something of
difference
this
among
sort.
the system
So
software,
you don't have to struggle with the
application
login for
software,
now so
and
much. Let's
programming
just focus on
software?
exploring the workspace, and I hope everyone can be able to see the screen. Can you? You can't. Um,
Okay.
it seems those
Next
online
thing,
also can't see the
once
screen.
you understand these two
So let me
concepts, you
see
can able to
how we
give the
can
clarity here. If someone is going to ask you,
try and
why
get
did
them
you
on.
choose software testing as
Is it
career?
better now? Awesome.
You can able to give the answer, and you can able to give the answer here. So, what type of skill set required to get a job as a test engineer? So, these two topics, once clearly you understand me, so you can able to give the answer for those. After that, we are going to discuss how in company software application is going to be developed. That is
Okay.
software
So, for
development
those online,
life cycle. So the
we've
LC.
not set up
So
a
here we are
Microsoft
not going to
Fabric
discuss the
account yet. It's
coding.
just that in my
So what are
case,
the
I'm already
activities are
using
going
a
to
trial.
perform?
So I
See,
hope now
as
you
a
can see the
manual
screen, Crispin.
automation
You can just
testing
confirm.
type, some programs are written, but when
And
you go for
if I
manual
view
testing,
my
no of
account,
any
I'll be able to
programs
see
are
the
not
kind of
going to write.
licenses I
We are
have.
going to
And so
learn
the
here
license I'm
how the
using
software
here
is going to be
is
developed.
my organizational work license, and I'm using the Fabric free
Then
trial. So with that, I will I will have the fabric
SDLC
home,
related concepts
and then what you also
like
need to see
when
is if you're
software
using
development
the
life
free
cycle will
trial, you'll
end,
see how
when do
many
defects will arise while
days
developing
left.
software,
So I just
how the
activated
defect
mine,
repair cost
for
with
example,
respect to
yesterday,
SDLC
and so I
features,
still have
when do
59
you
days
think
left, right?
testing activity should start in
And
software
then
development
there's this
process,
workspace here.
when do
So
you think
the
so
concept
testing
of
activity should
workspace
start
should
in
not be
software
so
development
different
process,
from anyone who's ever used Power BI workspaces. And workspaces are,
what is the
maybe
difference
just to go
here
back
with
to our
usage, like
slide,
this we are going to discuss.
workspaces enable you to
After that
control permissions. So within a
we are going to
workspace, you
discuss
can
here
set up users,
SDLC
you can
methodologies,
control who can access what,
or we can
you
call
can
them
add
models we are
objects,
going to
and you can
follow,
even share them across different
like
workspaces. So
which
I'll
are
show you, for
important for
example, the
us. Waterfall
workspaces
model.
that maybe are open access
Second
to our
one is
organization. I'll show
P
you
model.
workspaces that I
Third one
created, that I
is
own. And
Agile
a workspace is
Scrum
like, you know,
methodology.
in your workspace,
Agile
in your
Scrum
desk, you always have everything. You
methodology.
have books, you have reports, you have,
Okay.
you have your
SDLC
laptop and
methodologies
everything
are
else.
more. These are the
So a
thing.
workspace
Agile
contains
is the
all
one of the
items. And in
very
this
important
case,
one
it will
nowadays.
contain
Any
things like
interview they will going to
reports,
ask
it
the
will
question.
contain lake houses, something which you want to explore further. It will contain
After this,
data models, it will contain data flows, it will contain everything. So the first thing is to create a workspace.
we are going to
So in
discuss
this
about the
case, you will
testing
see the
methodologies.
different workspaces that I have. But even within our organization, we do have all
Testing
these workspaces
methodologies.
that have been created. And a workspace sometimes, so this is coming from Power BI and Power BI
Testing
Pro, where
methodologies.
you'd have
What are those?
different
First one we have
workspaces
the
and different teams would have access to them. So in
white
this
box
case, if I
testing.
just open, for example, the consulting
When we begin,
workspace,
we are going to
what
cover
I'll be
this.
able to see will be
Second one
generally
is
just reports. And like I said, within workspaces,
at
you can
box
have
testing.
folders of stuff, images,
Mhm.
whichever. It's like a folder,
Third
right?
one is
And this is a Power BI workspace.
a
But
box testing.
there is what we
What
call
it
a
is?
fabric
What is the
enabled
purpose of this
workspace.
kind
So
of testing
within a
methodologies?
fabric
Who is
workspace, you're
going to
able to
use
do just
this
much
testing
more than you could do
methodologies?
previously within workspaces.
This thing
So
we are going to
for
learn.
me to identify that a workspace is fabric enabled, you will see a small diamond. It shows, it, it's working with fabric content. So, for example, in that case, this is fabric content workspace. So, what I need to do is to create a workspace in this case, for example. So, to create a workspace, what I'll do is I'll just come to new workspace, and I hope you're following. And then I can decide to have a naming convention. Maybe for my workspaces, I want to start with WP, maybe to denote a workspace, and I
After this
can call it
gray box testing
maybe
completed, then we go for
Zedua
the
Fabric Day, something like that. Now, I
testing
can
levels in
give a description of
SDLC.
a workspace. It's like you're creating a repository in
Testing
GitHub,
levels in
something like
SDLC.
that. Then you
First
will go
one we
to
have the
advanced, and then you will
unit
choose
testing,
a
which is
license for
also
that
called as
workspace.
component
So if I
testing.
use Pro
Then
license, that will be more of a
integration
Power
testing.
BI workspace. If I can
Third one
use
is
Fabric trial capacity.
system
So
testing.
this brings us to that
Fourth one
concept of
is
serverless that we
user
talked about.
acceptance test, or we can say
You're you've
acceptance
been
test
given
also we are going
access
to cover.
to, you don't have to provision database, you provision
Now here,
compute.
so under integration testing, we
So
have different kind of techniques again, like Big Bang
all
approach,
this is done for
incremental
you
approach,
in a sense
top-down
that
approach, bottom approach,
you don't
hybrid
even have
approach
to
like
manage
this.
workloads. That's why
Same way, if I
it's
go
a
for the
software as a
system
service.
testing also, we
So you
have
don't
the
have to
various
manage
kind of
your
testing techniques are there, like
infrastructure, you
functionality
balance
testing,
the workloads, etc.
performance testing,
It's you're
security
going to be
testing,
built as
compatibility
you're
testing,
using it, or you
user
will have
interface testing, usability
access
testing,
to
recovery testing. Like this, we
a
have the
capacity
different kind
based
of
on
testing
what you
techniques.
bought.
Under
So,
user
for
acceptance
example,
test also
it's
we
like
have like a
CPUs and
alpha test and
you're
beta
buying
test.
virtual
These are all
CPUs
the
and
things we are
GPUs and
going to
even storage.
cover In
So
this
if your
testing
workspace
levels
is,
in
for example, 2 units,
development
that
life
would mean, I'm
cycle.
not saying that's the case, but that would mean you have
Okay.
access to 4
After
CPUs,
that,
for example,
see these all things
and
here. So for theoretical
everyone
only.
within that
Manual
capacity,
testing,
within that
almost we have
workspace,
the
uses that capacity.
80% is
So
going to
in this
be
case, if we
theoretical
have 10 of
orientation
us and
because
we're
you
using a
have to
single
learn
computer,
testing
that
related
means you
vocabulary.
need to ask
What
yourself
is
the
practical things
amount
in
of
manual
work that we are
testing?
going to load within that workspace.
Practical things
Will
are
it be
test scenarios identification,
accommodated by
test
the
cases
capacity that we have?
preparation,
So what
test
happens
execution,
when
defect
you have too
reporting.
many
Those things
users
comes
in a
under
single
practical
capacity?
orientation. Remaining things are
Anyone
going
can
to be
wants to give it a try? What
simple
would happen in that
theoretical
sense?
orientation in the
Does it
manual
break
testing.
down? What happens? Anyone familiar with the concept
Testing
of
levels.
throttling?
After this, we have the Bhavana, just
That
I'm
you've
giving
given me
the route
a
map for
look
the
that
course. What are the
seems like,
topics we are
this
going
is
to
something I've
cover?
had before.
How this course is going to be? What about notes?
Anyone familiar
What
with the
about
concept of
recording
throttling?
sessions? These all things I am explaining now. Okay. Then
Go for it. You can introduce yourself and just tell
miscellaneous
us what's your
testing techniques
current
are there.
role or where are you in
Some
the data
miscellaneous testing
space,
techniques.
and
So
also
what
your
are
name,
those?
and just give it a try.
Miscellaneous testing techniques, such as we have the very famous interview point of view also. Retesting,
Mhm.
regression testing, retesting, regression testing,
Yeah.
smoke test, sanity test,
Almost there.
informal testing
Yeah,
techniques,
almost. But yeah, I think
such
let's
as
get another try. But you didn't introduce yourself.
lab testing,
Uh huh.
exploratory testing,
Uh, and maybe just
enough
related to
testing,
data, which
exploratory
role
testing,
interested you the most of what we
risk
talked about?
card, priority based testing. So these are the informal testing techniques.
Ah, awesome, awesome. More, I think we'll get to explore some of the data analytics workflows that we can
Sima,
explore
in
in
this
Fabric.
course, first
Vincent?
module we have the manual testing. In
Yeah.
this manual testing, these are the topics where we are going to learn. There is a theoretical orientation up to here. All about knowing
Yeah.
the different kind of testing related vocabulary. After that, there is an activity called, which we are going to see, software testing life cycle. Testing life cycle. It is STLC,
Yeah.
software testing life cycle. So STLC. Previously, we have the software
Yeah, I
development
think
life
I
cycle.
would say so. Maybe
The
just
other
to
one
use a
is
simple
software
example,
testing life cycle.
um,
Once you
if you've ever
join in the
left your
company
phone
as a testing unit,
outside,
you are going to be
or
one of
if
the
you've left it
member
in a
in
very
this
hot place,
testing life cycle team.
sometimes
In
it
this,
will
we
tell
are
you
going to work.
temperature too
So, who
hot,
is going to work in the
can't
testing life
do
cycle?
ABCD. Or if you've
Separate
used it
testing
as a
team. So, you are
hotspot
the
and
one
you're
of the
charging
member
it, and
in that
so the
testing
CPU
team
is overloaded,
where we are
so
going
much
to
so
work
that
in the testing
things
life
will now
cycle.
start taking
So, what are the
time to
activities
process. So
we are
that's
going to?
throttling,
The
and
very
that's what
first one we have
happens
to
in
know
your
that
workspace. If the capacities you have
preparing
are not enough for the
test
amount of
plan
workload
document.
that you're
How to prepare
inputting.
the test
So in this
plan
case,
document.
it's a good thing because it means things will
So
just run
generally, test
slowly,
lead is
but
going to prepare the test
once
plan. So,
the
but
load
to
is
whom it
reduced,
is
then it
testing in
brings
is.
itself up
If you
to
learn
speed.
how to prepare the
And
test,
that's
if you
why you need a
understand no,
fabric
what is
capacity.
test plan
So
describes,
you'll
then
see
it
most of
will
these
go.
things have been
If you are in a
grayed out
position
because I
to
don't
prepare the
have
test
premium
plan, you can
fabric
able to explain no, what is the
capacity. I
information
can
is
still
going
use the
there in
trial,
the test
so no
plan.
need of purchasing the
Like
premium capacity still.
so, that is a
Then
preparing test
for
plan
model
document.
storage format, for now we can just use the small semantic model
Next
format,
thing,
and I have access to different, capacities. I
test to
think this
design,
is because
or we can say test case design.
the way it's configured, you depending on your organization, your tenant. So your tenant will be hosted on different
This is an important phase
regions.
for us
Like in
as a
this
testing
case,
engineer.
I can use the default, which is North
Here,
Europe. Then
about
I
use
think that will
case.
be all for now. So I just need to give it a name. And then within a workspace, now we want to create
About test
different items.
scenarios.
So to this workspace, I'm calling it
Then
workspace Zindua Fabric Day, for example, right? Then
identifying
I'm able to create within this
informal
workspace a number of things.
test
So if
scenarios.
I just select the button create,
Because
we
interview
want to
point
see
of
the
view, they will
different
ask you
fabric
by
experiences.
giving some
So
components
for
how to
example,
identify the
for
test
data
scenario,
engineers,
how to
we've
identify
all
it.
talked about how data
Then
engineers, mostly their role is to avail data
identifying
in whichever format to the
formalized
different users. So it's more of the
test
designing the
scenarios
architecture that
using.
enables the data to
So
flow
in real
from
time,
its source to the end user.
by
They,
giving the
for
one
transformation
project
or for
related
analysis,
documents using the template,
and
how to
that's
identify
the
the
data
test
engineering workload.
scenarios will be
So
discussed.
we had 7 workloads, and within each
Something like
workload,
that.
you will see what you can create. So as a data engineer, you can build what
Next
we call a
one,
data lake house for you to store data, query the data, even build reports on it. You can also use you can also build notebooks so that you can bring compute to your data, a concept which we want to visit more. You can also create libraries
libraries.
where you will
After that,
configure your Spark compute settings. So I want, a CPU
about
with
test
this RAM.
case,
I would want this and this and
about the
this.
test case.
You will
What
set
is
up your
test
library. So,
case?
for example, I think it's something best explored in real time. But for example, if I needed some libraries to for machine learning people, if you need, let's say, TensorFlow,
So how
you
to
want to
prepare the
use
test cases?
Keras
What are
for
the
your
test
deep
case
learning
techniques are
models.
there?
You just set it up in that environment. So it's like you're just setting up your environments. Here, nobody needs to load anything
About
from
test
anywhere,
case.
right?
Then
You can also
test
configure,
case.
different
Design
data
techniques.
functions.
Which
Then we
techniques we
have
have to
the
use
next one, which is
to
the
prepare
data
the test
factory. So I
cases?
told you earlier that in our visualization here, they
Test
looked really
data
good, like the icons are
preparation.
very pronounced,
How to
but
prepare the test
depending
data?
on your
The types
configuration
of
and depending on when
test cases.
you're working with Fabric, the
Test
look might be
case.
different, but the experience is the
Template.
same. So, for example, for the
Then
data factory workload, it's more about transferring data faster, getting
preparing
access to that data. So,
test
you're building
cases in a
pipelines as a
real
data
time.
engineer or as a data analytics engineer.
Again, for project related documents,
How
I will go
fast
and
can
explain
we
to you
prepare,
how to prepare the test
transform, and clean
cases so
our
that they'll
data
go and get some real time
so that we can
experience
hand it
how
over
to
to
prepare
the
the
BI
test case.
specialists or to the users of our reports to build reports off of that data. Something which
Then using RTM,
my co-facilitator will take you through end
that
to
is
end. Like, how do you build
requirements
now reports
traceability
from
matrix.
those
RTM means what?
models?
Requirements
How do
traceability
you
matrix.
ingest data at scale? Again, what
Then
data engineers do, because you want to establish
test
pipelines,
execution.
and sometimes you would have
Full
refreshes. So
execution of
when,
this.
let's
Then
say,
defect
you want your
management.
sales data to always be updating every
Like
morning at 9 a.m. for previous day,
defect
you can schedule, those
identification,
data workflows, and
defect
all these
reporting,
other things you can do. You can
defect track,
put copy jobs. You can mirror databases. You can.
defect
There's
tracking,
a lot of mirroring you can do. For now, I
defect
think we
retesting,
have mirrored database, which is still in preview
defect
mode,
closure.
which is to say it's like beta
Then
mode for software, right? So they're still rolling it out. Then for the data science experience, like I said, it's more predictive analytics. You want to detect
defect
outliers. You want to
submission process
predict.
in real
You want to
time, how
run
we can
different
do it.
machine learning experiments and then, decide on which one works best. So you will
template,
put your notebooks here, you'll define your ML models, and they are all going to be
priority,
running on the Spark
and
engine.
severity.
So Spark is open
Priority
source
and
and it has
severity.
different
Okay, important
languages.
one.
So it's a multi-language compute engine. If you are a Python
Life cycle.
stack person, if you are an R SQL, so we
Just
have
to closer.
PySpark, we have Spark
Ninth one
SQL, we
here.
have all those. So Spark
Software
is the
testing
engine that
principles.
powers
This is the
the compute
complete
within
manual
Fabric.
testing portion for us. Software
Then
testing
you can
principles.
create
After
notebooks
the
for
software
data
testing principles,
warehousing. Again,
so we have
we are
the
talking of database professionals here. You're able to
interview-oriented
mirror,
session
and then for databases,
on
again, for anyone dealing
manual
with
testing.
data, SQL will be
So, what
most
are
of
the
the
topics
backbone
we
for your
covered so far? In
databases.
that, what
Your
type of
real-time
questions we can
intelligence. So
expect in a
here you're
view
talking
point of view?
about streaming
Based on
data.
your
An example of
experience,
streaming data will
fresher
be
or
data from
experienced person, how you need to deliver
anyone,
the
any
answer for
example.
those questions will be discussed.
Go for it.
Just trying transaction data.
Yeah, transaction data. So you can
Next month,
decide for real time or batch processing. But I
one
think there's
assignment
one that we've been. Have you
manual
seen
test
these
without
memes
any
of
reference of the notes.
when
If you
somebody
prepare the
just
answers for
creates
those
a Python
questions,
hello
so
world?
manual testing,
There's
interview
a number of
questions,
words that I
interview
usually
preparation
say:
will over.
big data, machine learning. There's
These
one
things.
one more. I don't know if you guys have seen that
So
video.
after
Yes,
this,
IoT. So maybe data from
we have
sensors,
the
right?
second
You want
module,
that to be analyzed real
automation
time.
testing. So
For
generally,
those who
first
are
we
like
have the one tool to
F1
discuss here.
fans or sports
The
fans, you
tool
have
one, what is
telemetry
it is
data
Jira we are
where
going to discuss.
data is
So what is the
constantly
purpose
streaming
means?
in
It is a
based on whatever platform that
effect
you're looking at
reporting
there.
tool.
And then for BI, which
It
stands for
is a
business
defect
intelligence,
reporting tool,
is mostly to create
which we
reports.
are going to
So when
use.
you're wearing a data analyst persona, which is what we want to, the hat we want to wear today, data analyst and maybe data
Selenium
analytics
WebDriver,
engineer, because you're going to, ingest some
it
data.
is
We are
a
going to
functionality
schedule some
testing
workflows.
tool. It is a
Then you don't
functionality
get to
testing tool.
use all the
So
experiences
where
within
we are
Fabric.
going to
And
learn
that's why I said Fabric
WebDriver
is an end-to-end
with
solution
core
for
Java
different
concepts will
data
be
professionals or
discussed in the course.
professionals dealing with data.
But in the
That is
WebDriver,
to
when
even
I'm going to start
include
the
data
automation
consumers.
testing, like
So
manual
once I've
testing,
created
how
a
I given the
workspace,
course content,
then whatever
in
I'm creating
detailed way,
within
I
that
will going to give the
workspace
course content. But at this
will
moment, so
will
I will
be
tell you what is an important here.
will
Core
be
Java concepts will be
will
covered.
be
In WebDriver, we
included.
are
So even
going
if
to
it's a lake
discuss
house,
the
even if it's a
not
data
only
flow,
fundamental
it will
concept,
be
advanced
included within that
frameworks such
workspace.
as
But
page
something that I
object model
mentioned
framework,
previously, which was very
Cucumber
important,
framework,
was
so
access.
data-driven
So
framework,
because a workspace is
hybrid
where
framework,
you also
TestNG framework. These
manage
are the different frameworks are
you
there in
also
Selenium.
manage
All these frameworks
access
like
to
page object model
information.
framework,
You can
data-driven
manage
framework, TestNG
access
framework,
here where you just
hybrid
search people
framework,
within your
and
organization and
Cucumber
you can
framework.
add them to a
Apart
workspace.
that, along
Or
with the Selenium, some other
the
tools we are
other
going to learn.
advantage of
Maven we
Microsoft
are going to
Fabric
learn.
is when you have artifacts,
Jenkins we
like
are
for
going to
example
CI tool we are
data
going to call
that
it.
you want to
Jenkins we
be
are going to
accessed
learn.
across the entire organization, you
Repository
can
means
just
GitHub
endorse. So
repository we are
endorsing,
going to
just that
learn.
is to say this
GitHub
data has satisfied all the
repository we
data
are going to learn.
quality metrics, and then
So
people can access it
total course
without changing the
duration
source
will
data.
be,
So you
it
will
will
be
take
managing
around
workspace
60
access
to
here. For
65
example, if
days.
in our
In this manual
okay,
testing, we are going to discuss around
I don't
20
know.
to
Oh,
25 days.
sorry.
We
You
have
can
the
add people
manual
depending
testing
on their
portion.
email addresses if they are within your organization, like
Right.
so, like so.
Manual testing
So
20
that
to
way
25
you're
days
able to
we
give
have.
admin
Then
access,
automation
contributor
testing
access.
is
So that is
going
to
to
say,
around
and if
35
somebody you
to
just want to
40
give
days we
them
are going to discuss by it is.
view access, read
35
only
to
access of
40
sorts,
days we are going to
then
discuss about
that
the
helps you manage
automation
data
testing.
security.
Sir, you said auto
Okay,
manual
and then
testing, theoretical
workspace
orientation,
settings. you
So how we
can
can get the
connect
real-time
it
experience? I will
to
go on to share
GitHub.
the real-time
Um,
project related
you will
documents for the practicing
provision,
purpose scenario test
or you can
cases.
even
But when you
explore.
go for the
This one, I think I
automation
want us
testing,
to
it is
talk about
completely
it once we've talked about
practical
the concept of
orientation.
one lake. You can even explore
Understand?
your
Automation testing is
data items
completely
using the file
practical
explorer that
orientation. So, but practice where we
All
can do.
Windows people are
For
so
that, we
much
need
used to now.
software or not
So
in
if
our
you
system.
download the
Definitely,
One
in
Lake
our system, you
Explorer
need
sort of
software. So,
extension, then
during
you
the
can
automation
explore using
testing,
File
I will go
Explorer
on to explain to you
to
where we
your
have to
items.
download
They
the
could be
required
in
software and how we can
Parquet
set
files, they
up
could be in
the
CSV, they
Linux
could be folders, they
environment
could be
in our
images, all that.
computer
So for now,
for
our workspace
daily
is empty,
practicing
which is okay
purpose.
because that's what we
So,
want to
sir, when I'm
practice with.
practicing,
But
if I
before we
got
even
some
come
doubt,
back to
how to
workspace,
get the
there's a
clarification?
concept that I
I will
talked
give
about,
the
which
my
is
personal
very
WhatsApp
important,
number
which is
later
this
so
one
that you
here,
can,
One
if you
Lake.
have any doubts, you
So
can
One
send a
Lake
screenshot to me
is
so that
a
I will go to
data
clarify your doubt. Or in
lake
the next
house.
day class, you can ask me, I will go to
You want
clarify
to talk about
your
what
doubt.
that means? So,
Okay,
like I
sir,
said,
upon this,
just so
what are the
that we can
additional things?
remind
Resume
ourselves,
preparation,
for
then
Data
sample
Factory,
resume formats will be
it's
given to you. Okay,
solving your ETL scenarios. What is
so
ETL?
upon this,
The process to
as a bonus, what I
extract,
will going to tell
transform, and load. So you're simplifying
some
that.
other
So Data
concepts
Factory
which
enables you to
we are
unify
going to
your data
discuss.
estate.
I will
That is
give
to
the
bring all your data under one roof. Data engineering,
introduction to
data engineering
database
workload,
concepts.
it's mostly to um,
Second thing, I will
maintain
give the
infrastructure that
introduction
is all
to
based on one compute engine,
API
and then
testing
data
application,
warehouse. You
programming
have
interface testing also, API testing
separation
also.
of
I will give some
compute
introduction. That
and
is not
storage.
in the
And why
regular
do you
day.
think we are
Some
separating
Saturday,
compute and
Sunday
storage?
special days. I will going to
It's
take.
more for
I will going to
scalability.
explain these
That
concepts
is
to
to
you.
say, we talked about throttling, right? So when our system is overloaded
Okay.
and we want
So
to scale, we can add
these are
more
not mandatory. If
compute
you have this knowledge, add advantage in the resume
resources,
point of.
and we don't maybe
Okay.
need to add
So,
data. I mean, the data side, is it? So you can scale
Pranav,
them
my name is Pranav,
independently,
who is going to
but
take
then
the
you can
classes to
also
you, having more
use
than 18 plus years of
you can
experience
also
in
use
software testing. I worked on
different
different kind of automation tools
formats,
from my
not
career
necessarily
beginning.
being
I worked
restricted
on the
to what
WinLearner, that is the
the
first
engine, if it is a
automation
compute and
came
data
into the
storage
market
engine all
from the
combined,
Mercury
then you're kind of
292. After that,
restricted. So
UTP, now it is called EFT.
you want to be able to scale
And
them
then,
independently. And then
so
for
there
data
I did
science,
a
I
lot
think it
of
goes without
frameworks we
saying,
have in the
it
UFT,
enables
like keyword driven
scientists and even data
frameworks.
analysts,
So data driven
because there
framework
are
very
some data
popular in
analysts
which
that
I worked
actually
on
do
that. I
some
designed those
ML
frameworks in my
models, maybe
company.
not to
After that, more
advanced
than
levels, but
7 years
still run some
worked
ML
on the
models.
UFT
But
tools.
you really want to
Then now it is
quickly
Selenium,
build,
Selenium with the
deploy,
Java,
and
Selenium with the
um,
Python,
kind of operationalize
Tosca,
those models. To
Playwright. These are
operationalize a
the tools
model,
I have the
we are starting to
experience.
talk about ML
So
ops now.
my
You're
at this moment I'm still
monitoring
going
that
on Selenium
model,
with
uh,
Java. That is a why
and
sir this only we
you're
have no
monitoring
because high
performance, you're
demanding tool in the
maintaining that
market is
model,
Selenium with
and you're making sure that,
Java.
for
See more
example,
than
if
70%
we
of
run
companies
our
prefer the Selenium to Java.
credit scoring
Other tools are
model
there. I'm
based
not saying
on
that
two
there are no
weeks
mark
worth
for
of
other
data,
tools,
yes,
but only
like
that is
2 weeks
10 to
ago,
15% for a
then
tool.
have we
But
scheduled a way
70%
in
of
which we
market
refresh the
so
data
is
source, then we
on
rerun the
Selenium
model,
WebDriver
and
with
then
Java.
we can
That
now
is the reason
predict
that
new
two
use
concept we
cases.
have
That's
to learn
why
it is. Other tools
I think
are
for anyone who's taken
not that
a
much
loan with a
demand.
bank, any bank that
That's the reason.
uses,
Okay.
ML models, you will find that your credit score, your loan,
8 plus years of
what do they call
experience.
that thing? Loan limit
In fact, in the American
changes
market,
from time to time,
barely
and
there
it
is
doesn't change
automation
every day,
testing.
of
I am the
course.
person who introduced
It
UFT
sometimes
training.
changes on a monthly
So
basis.
UTP training.
That's because
Okay. So a
it's
lot of
the model
experience,
is
teaching
being run,
experience I
let's say,
have.
on a monthly basis.
So
And the reason why
different roles I
sometimes
played in
you
my
can't
company
run these
also.
models every day. You can't,
Now
for example, train your LLM every day because the training process
this is the
itself
course
is
teaching plan.
resource
See,
heavy.
to get a job, to get a
The
break in your
data
career,
collection
you need to
process
spend
will take some
hardly
time.
60 to
So
65 days
you
studying.
want to maintain your
That
models,
too,
and
my class
the
timings
data
are
science
going to be
workload enables you to do that. Again, we'll explore what that means. And
5:30
then
to
for real time,
6:30.
we are talking
Daily
of,
1 hour it
you
will
know,
be.
um, uh,
5:30
I think as the word goes, you want to track real-time
6:30
insights.
p.m.
And then Power BI, the workload is to
Generally, we'll have the classes
bridge the
from
gap
Monday to
between the data
Friday. That is
builders or the report
5 days
builders
a
and the
week,
business. So,
regularly 5 days a
like
week.
I said, we
But
want to
some
set up
days
a lake
I may
house.
going to take
And
on
before
Saturdays
we can set
also.
up a lake house within
But
our space,
not
it's
1 or
important
2
to
weeks
understand
later, if I felt
why
it
are
is
we talking of
lagging, then I
one
will
lake?
going to
What
take
problem
the
are we solving with
Saturday,
one lake,
Sundays
by the way?
also. I will
Just
be
to check if we are
intimate.
all on the same page.
Okay. But Monday to
What
Friday,
problem are we
5 days a
solving
week
with
is the
one
crucial
lake?
time. Special class on Saturday, Sundays will be there
Data
later,
disparity.
not now. Okay.
Yes,
Sir, what about
that's
the
correct.
class
And I
notes?
think there's
What
also
about the
something that
class notes?
we'll get to, which is the
Class notes
format. So this
will be
one lake is
shared
solving the issue of data
in a
existing in different
WhatsApp group.
silos
I will
or in
create the
silos, and then
WhatsApp group.
also the data
In
disparity
that
as we talk
group,
about. So
like
data
once
disparity is
registrations are
into two
completed,
elements, right?
I will
So
going to take
the
your numbers.
structure
I will give
and
my personal
also
number so that I will
the
create the
existence.
WhatsApp group.
But
So
there's
daily,
also a problem that we are
whatever
solving,
topics I
which is
covered,
access,
the corresponding
because
notes
it's
I will going to
within
share.
your
So in the
organization,
class, during the
within
class,
that tenant,
no need to write
it's
the
easy to
notes
control
detailed
access.
way.
Other
Detail
than
of notebook
if
you
data
may
is
want to take, you
existing
can take,
in
but detailed notes
an
will be
S3
day to
bucket
day
and
will be
another
shared
one
in the
existing
WhatsApp group.
Google
Then
Workspace or
what about
Google
recording
Cloud, and some
sessions?
are existing in some
Yes.
databases. You have to
So
now manage access at those levels. Whereas if you can bring them
Google
all to
Drive
one lake
link
within Fabric, then you're
will
able
be
to
provided to you,
manage it really well.
where we
So
are going to provide
before we
day
even
to
talk
day
about one lake,
recording sessions
because
are going to
one
be
lake is
uploaded
a
in the
lake,
Google Drive. From there, you
is
can able
some
to take
example of a
the
data lake.
recording
There's
sessions
a
within one.
difference
But
between
don't
a data
give the
lake and a
highest
data
priority
warehouse.
for the recording
And for
sessions
now, I've
compared
just
to the class.
summarized what those
Class
are.
is the
But
you
I
should have
think
the
the best
commitments,
article
serious
that
commitment you should
illustrates
have
this
to
would
attend the
be
classes.
this
In case in
Microsoft article
emergency,
on
if you are not able to attend the session,
lake
then you can
house,
use the
sorry,
recording session. Okay.
data
So what
lake
happens once the recording sessions are there,
and
the
data
students
warehouse.
trying to give the priority for the other activities than class. Anyway, we have recording.
Okay.
See, recording,
So
there
this
will
my
lot of, you may also take
article by
other course
Microsoft.
recording sessions
Again,
also
all
in the
this will be
same.
shared as part of the notes.
We have, but
But
we are not going to document.
the whole
That is
gist
the
of it
problem.
is
That's the reason try to give the time to attend the
for data
classes
lakes,
only. So in
you
case you
have
may not understand the
structured,
topic or you
unstructured,
may
and
miss in emergency,
semi-structured
then you
data.
can use the
When we talk
recording
about
session.
structured data, what do
Okay,
we mean?
like that.
Structured,
Okay,
it
if you
has
miss
to
one
stay in
class,
the
use
same format.
recording
So
session, but
even
don't
if it
miss the
is,
classes. That's what I'm saying.
if it is,
Okay,
for example, tables,
so
all of them
I
have to be
hope
tables,
it is
right?
clear for you. Is there any
In
doubts
data
are there?
lakes, we can
So
allow,
can
so
you
you will
ask
see
me?
data
Unmute
lakes
your
have more
mic. You can ask me
flexibility
the question.
than data
Or
warehouses, but also data
it's a
warehouses
very clear
have their own
means
place
say yes in the chat
because
box.
of those restrictions. It's best for certain applications. So, for example, a data
So
lake
Priyanka, is it clear? Pravina,
supports both relational
Narendra,
and non-relational data.
Vardhan,
A data lake is
Chai,
schema on read. So that is to say,
Bhavana next.
the schema is
Shifra, any
defined
doubts are there? Is
when
it
you're reading the
clear?
data, but this other one is schema on
Say
write.
yes or no in the
So
chat box.
it has to follow a
If you have
specific
any
schema
doubt,
as
let
you
me know.
write
It's
the data.
unmute your mic. You can ask. I will clarify.
In a data lake, you can
Never
put
doubt.
anything. Everyone just dumps their things.
Sir, I
into
don't
the
have
lake.
any
All people
programming
can dump
knowledge.
their
Can I learn
data
this
in a
process?
data lake.
So this software testing
So
courses for them
the
only
sources
accepted.
of data for a data
Non-IT
lake could
background
be
students
IoT
purpose only it
devices,
is.
streaming data, anything. But for a data warehouse, because you need your data to be structured, it has to be, and that structure will be defined by what the application is outputting. If it's transactional data, we want to show these rows and these columns of, okay, that is to say these observations and these features of data, for example.
Okay.
And
Clear.
on this other side,
So,
because
okay.
once you
Try to use
define
the
your
same
data
link
warehouse,
to join the session for tomorrow
it's
also.
very hard to scale.
You
It's
can
a
use the
process
same
to
link
scale that.
to join the
And you
session
will
for
realize that
tomorrow also.
different professionals,
Okay.
so data scientists and data
Every point
engineers
will
tend to
be
use
explained
data
in
lake
detailed way.
house, okay, data lakes.
So only you have to
because
give
of
the
that flexibility.
commitment to attend the
Whereas
classes.
for
Manual testing
data
is 30 minutes
warehouses,
book
like a
reading
warehouse,
with the notes reading.
and you're storing
So
the same structured
automation
data,
testing is a 1 hour
it's
practice.
mostly for
This is what
databases,
commitment
database
is required
administrators,
to get a
database
job.
uh,
Okay. Now market is
professionals,
started.
and even
So
BI
companies are
analysts.
asking
It's very rare to
testers.
find BI
Jobs are more
analysts
are there.
dealing
So
with
you should be ready for
unstructured
the
data. Can
market
somebody give me an
requirement. You
example of
update your skills.
unstructured data?
Okay. So that is the class for us. Thank you.
Yeah,
very much.
questionnaires would be
See you
one.
tomorrow.
Um,
Bye.
Even a book is unstructured, right? Like there's no structure to a book.
Hi.
Of course, it
So
will
good
be in
evening,
text
everyone.
format, and that's an example of
Bhavana,
unstructured data. So
Vardhan,
the whole data space is
Mahesh,
evolving so
Narendra,
that we can now analyze
Ravina. I hope
different.
everyone able to hear.
You now even have tools to analyze unstructured data.
Welcome to software
Now,
testing course. Right. Software testing.
on
The
top
course
of
which you joined is
a data lake,
software testing.
we have what we call a data lake house.
Course name
And
software testing.
because
But
those data
popular name for
data
this
lakes can
course
contain
is
different kinds of
testing
data.
tools.
You have
Popular
issues
name
with
for this course is
data quality
testing
control, corruption of data, maybe improper partitioning. So it's not the most efficient, and that's
So
why
what we are going
we
to
have
learn in
data
this
lake houses. So
I will go and
it's
explain
like
to
a
you
combination of
the
warehouse
course
and a
content,
lake. So
what we
it's a
are
data
going to
lake
cover,
house.
and what is
So
the teaching plan for this course.
there is what we call open standard based storage.
So
It's like
generally
open
the
source
software
standards.
testing
So in this case, we will be
course
working
will
with what
have
we
the two
call a delta
modules.
per K file.
The first module is
For example, if you wanted an open standard for data
manual
storage
testing.
that is limited, we would say let's use
First
CSV
module is
format, right?
manual testing.
And it addresses
Second
some of
module
those
is
drawbacks of a data lake. So for
automation testing.
data type, they are all the
Second
same.
module is
But in this case, a data
automation
lake house
testing.
supports schema on read
First module
and also
manual
schema on
testing.
write. So
Second
it's
module will be
combining both the
automation
benefits of a
testing.
data lake house and a data warehouse. Make sense? And of course, format is anything.
So in this manual
case,
testing,
delta format files, which we will talk about what they are. Sources,
what are the topics
combining
we are
both
going to discuss?
scalability,
What are the topics
taking the
we are
advantages of
going
a
to
data
discuss?
lake.
The very first one,
And that
I'll
is
go and explain to you.
of course, I'll share this so that you just get the gist of
Introduction
it.
to
But
software
as you can
testing.
see,
Introduction to
one
software
lake
testing.
is built on the lake house architecture. So a data lake house. So it's combining both the benefits of a data
There
lake
you are going
and
to
a
get
data warehouse.
some clarity like
So the way to
what
think
is
about
software
one
testing,
lake is
what are the advantages of software
for
testing,
MS365 users,
difference
all
among
your
the error,
information is always
defect,
going
bug
to
and failure.
OneDrive as the storage, right?
Some
If you're
of the
not
major
for
activities
cloud-based
in
storage,
software
you're always
company.
taking it to OneDrive. And it doesn't matter the format because
So the
sometimes
type
you've
of
pushed
clarity
some
where you are
Excel
going to
files
get.
there. Sometimes you've pushed text files or whichever files,
So after
even
that,
zip files. So
see, I
it
will going to
accommodates
start
all
from
types
the
of your data.
fundamentals.
That's OneDrive.
Even though you
But
don't have
OneDrive
any
is for
IT
documents.
related knowledge or
When we are
any
talking about
programming knowledge, it doesn't
data,
matter. You can able to
Microsoft has
understand
built
from that
the
point
One
we are
Lake
going to discuss.
architecture. So One Lake allows you to interact with analytical engines. So
Introduction
like
to
SQL for
software
database management, Spark,
like
the compute engine,
what is
Power
software
BI
program,
has its own,
what is software
transactional
program,
modules, KQuery, the database.
what
So
is
a data
software
lake
program, what is
plus a data
software,
warehouse
what is the
gives
difference
you
between
a lake
product
house,
based
which is
software, project based
in
software,
Microsoft's case, I think
who
they
is
just used their
client,
naming
end
convention.
user,
They now use
and the
a one
company.
lake
What is
architecture.
the difference
So this
between
one lake
product
allows you
based
to, you
company
can
and
distribute
project based
ownership,
company?
you can have your files, you can have your tables,
What are the
and
different kind of environments are
you
there for a
can
project?
also connect what we call
What are the
compute engines
different
to your
kind of
data.
environments are there
So
for a
that is what we
project?
want to create. That's exactly what we want to create. We want to now create our lake house so that we can start adding stuff to
Next
it.
thing,
Once we create a lake house, we can add data, we can add
what is the difference
whichever
among
things
the
that we want to
system
add
software,
later. So
application software,
you will just come
and
here to either new
programming
item,
software?
right? Or you can always come to create. So you can come and create. So a lake house will be under the data engineering workload, right? So you will
Okay.
see
Next thing,
different elements
once
of
you
different things
understand
as
these
we
two
move along
concepts, you can able to
of
give
the
the
different
clarity here.
workloads. So within the
If
workspace,
someone
I
is
will
going to
create
ask
it
you, why
as
did you
a
choose
lake house,
software
and
testing as
I can search
career?
for it. It's somewhere down
You
here.
can able to give the answer, and
You
you can
know,
able to
so
give the answer here.
this is not persona optimized workloads. These have been categorized by functionality. So if you wanted to store your data, you can decide, oh, I'm just going to create a warehouse. And remember, a workspace can contain everything.